everyone, welcome back to another style study. I'm excited. We just finished doing the Stardew Valley and finished doing Stardew Valley, and that took seven, I think, not 7 attempts, but just 7 parts. So I'm excited that we get to try a new style, or at least try a new game. This one's Evoland II, and I'm excited. So I was looking at this guy. I really like the look of it, so I'm excited to break it down. But I thought to myself, man, this tree right here looks like an old man. So what I want to do is not only break down the style, I'd like to attempt to make our own old man tree. And to do that, I have this face. I want to try doing this face on this guy here. So we'll see how well that goes and if we can accomplish it. But that's the name of the game today. I hope you're all excited. Without further ado, though, let's go ahead and start where we usually start, base ground zero, right? Where we grab this guy, and actually, let me make this even bigger. Sprite canvas size. We'll make this guy a little bit smaller this way, a little bit smaller this way. That way we get a little bit of a bit better, a better picture of it. Go ahead and copy him now. Something to note is that this is a really big tree. Like this guy's huge, like big, which is super duper surprising, but not intimidating, not at all, not anymore for us. We were slowly getting down the tactics of drawing trees and leaves. I tell ya. So once we're here, we have to do the minimum. That we're looking for the least amount of details we can add. So we're choosing the lightest colors and making them darker. So we're removing the lights, the highlights. So what I would do here is I would grab this guy and I would, oh, hold on, that's not the right color. Hold your horses. Let me see if it'll let me do it now. I grab this color, this one right here, fill you in. There we are. No more highlight for that part. And then I would go to our leaves, and I would also fill in the leaves. No more leaves exist here. Interesting. All the highlighted leaves. After that, I would then copy it, move him down again, and do it all over again. So next up, the next thing to remove would be this color here, you could say. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and grab all of this, and then I would grab possibly this color here, and you can see less highlights. Some people also like to go for really big highlights and really dark shadows, so you might do this here too is another option. It's either or, I'd say. I don't think you have to be very picky when it comes to it. It's just what works for you, what do you understand more. For some people, by making the highlights even more highlighty, they find it easier. For other people, and it depends for me, for other people, they like seeing the darker colors, and if we go into the black and whites of the values, it's the same exact thing, the colors are just different, and I quite like the high contrast just because I find it easier to look at, but all in all, it more so depends, I think. For now, though, you know what, we'll stick with this one, because I think it'll be easier, or, yeah, we'll stick with this one, because I quite like the strong contrasts. I've been trying to get better at doing 2 tones, or not 2 tones, 2-bit. I think it's called 2-bit when you use only 2 colors for your pixel art. I find it really neat, the fact that you can get a lot of texture and detail in without doing too much. It's quite lovely. So what we'll do here is we'll go ahead and again, we can either choose to remove that or we can remove this color here. Either or, whichever one you think. But I think in this case, let's see, removing this guy here feels like it's the easiest one to do. So we'll do it. After that, we'll copy it, move him down again, and I think this will be the last one we do. I think we won't need any more after this. I'll make sure to remove that guy because we don't need the tree roots there. So we'll go ahead and move you up by 1. Make sure you're also being saved. And we're going to need to remove one more color now. Again, do we remove this color here or do we want to just remove that color there? I quite like the idea of removing the highlight here. So I'll go for a darker color here to show our dark outline. I'll also go ahead and let's see, remove the dark parts here. The thing is that what is that called? The flowers aren't a lot of details, so we really don't have to worry about them right now. So I'll keep them very simple. I won't mess with them too much since that's not the main part we're looking for. And lastly is going to be, do we A, remove the highlights, make it look like this, or do we B, remove the dark parts and make it look like this? I think another option C, didn't even know it existed, did ya? We could also do something like this, where we remove the dark part of it to only show the outlines, but I think in this case, it's better off, let's see, you have this color here, you could also do, let's see, that definitely doesn't work, that's too much 2-bit. I think this here might be the smallest one we can do. I like keeping the outlines, it feels like it works, but if I were to remove the outlines, it's probably what you would do, but I'm gonna keep it like this. I usually try to focus on one highlight, one brightness color, one dark color, and then an outline color seems to be the key here. You could even say, for example, here, there's kind of an outline color, kind of not, depending on how you look at it, but I quite like this, so we'll keep it. I always find that it's just a thing of, what do you think would help you most? Because we could certainly try going for, and I'll move this down, move you down here, old man, and you could do this color, so this highlight again, the dark guy there, could certainly, but I think it's easier to understand and try to take apart and break down when you do it here, where you can see the roots kind of coming out. So maybe you would grab this guy then, and maybe instead you would move the highlights out of the area. But then I can't see the root or tree part of it, so I definitely think this is better, but it then becomes a thing of just how to add the highlights in. So you know what? We're gonna keep the medium one. We won't do 2 colors, we'll do 3 colors. With that said, now we just have to kind of do side by side. So what I'll make sure to do, as I'm not sure why it's not there already, let's go ahead and make sure our preview window is enabled. That way we can see our before and afters a-okay and good to go. And after that, let's go ahead and just attempt to start, shall we? So I'll go ahead and move this guy over here. That way I can see him a little bit better. I also want to try to do something about the same size, so we'll keep it to maybe about that size there. I'll do a new layer here. I'll grab my pen, drink a little bit of water, and then we'll get started into things. So let's do it. Alrighty, water has been acquired, so let's give a good old attempt. I think step 1 is going to be to figure out how big we want the trunk to be, and this is where having that singular color can come into play, where you don't have to worry about too much. So it could be a thing of maybe we briefly only do that singular tone. Let me scroll this up here. Also slide that guy over so you can see him a little bit better. But for this case, I'm thinking we do a mixture of both in the sense of, just so we can get a feel for the guy, I'm thinking maybe we can just do this here, possibly, at least to get a good feel. We could also do, let's see, this guy here, that guy. Oh, hold on, that guy there. That guy can also work too, but it's tricky. I like the root feel of it. So what we'll do is we'll remove, I'm thinking, the highlight. And we'll go for that instead. So with that said, that done, and oh, hold on. I'm just realizing we need to make a new layer here. Okay, so we're going to grab our initial first color, color 1. And the thing is, this guy's super big too, so it's a little bit hard to see the side by side. This actually might be one of the times where I would instead move this guy to the bottom to make it easier to see in myself, as it's so wide, it's not tall. So I'll remove that guy there, and then I'll move you here, maybe even up here so you can see him. And that way, I get a little bit of a better vision when it comes to side by side. So with that said and done, with our layers good to go, I'll start off by figuring out, okay, I want to do, and this guy's about, I'd say, if we had to guess, probably that big. We could say even possibly there, so 128 by 128. This guy here is about kind of 128 by 128. So we'll keep it within this range here, something 128 by 128. So what I'll do as well is I will grab a new layer here. I'll then lower the opacity so we can figure out where our radius and range is. And then we'll move this guy down here so that we can keep track. Okie dokie. So now that we know our barriers, let's go ahead and start off with, I think, a symmetry tool to get a good feel for it. And what I'll do is I'll do the center line about there-ish. Then we'll grab our main color. And we know for certain about, I'd say, maybe 40% is trunk and 60% is tree. So maybe we can start off here with trunk, right? We want to go for something, a wide trunk or wide sturdy trunk, and a lot of the roots are going to be at the bottom too, so we're just slowly adding on. We don't need it to be perfect at the moment, we're just trying to figure out the overall feel of the tree itself. So we can maybe go for something like this here. Maybe we can also move it up a little bit because I think the face is up a little bit more, and something to notice is just how boxy the face also is, so I'm trying to keep in mind that too, where it can be a little bit boxy. Boxiness is okay. You don't have to be afraid of boxiness. So, you know what? Actually, I quite like it going inwards a little bit. So never mind. We do it this way instead. And you can kind of see, it seems like there are, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit of mirroring. There's a little bit of mirroring if I had to guess. So let's go ahead and use that too. And I'll also grab this color. So these tendrils of the tree are interesting, to say the least. I'll zoom in here so I can zoom in here a little bit and I can see up there. Makes it a little bit easier. And then what we'll do is we'll use this outline color here, and we'll go in, clean it up a little bit. We're not trying to make it perfect, but we're trying to understand what's going on here. And you can see this outline at least, oh, actually, this face is straighter, if anything, and a little less wide. So you know what? We'll make ours a little bit straighter, a little bit less wide down here. Interesting, okay. And then when the tendrils meet, there's kind of a little bit of darkness going on here. You can kind of see. So I'll do that too. Kind of remove that down here. Maybe curve it out a little bit more here. And we'll keep it like this for now. We can always come back if need be. But I think maybe this can work out a little bit better. Kind of alternate the colors here. Swap them around. Remove you to there. Remove you to there. That color becomes that color. A little like that. It feels a little on the even side. I can also stretch this so you can see them at the top too. If anything, I think we need to make it straighter. So what I might do instead is grab our main dark color here, and I'll add the lines like we see with the actual tree where there's a lot of straight parts going. So we'll just remove all the straightness, or the round parts, because we're looking to add the straightness, aren't we? Different words. So making it straighter, I think that's a lot better. And now we're going to need some of those tendrils. And I'm thinking, let's see. Let's start off with, I like here how there's a bit of a curve going on here. The tendrils also seem to kind of go down a little bit, so we'll keep it. Well, I say tendrils. These are really just the roots of the tree that feel like they're tendrils. And that is quite interesting. It makes me think of a little Bobby here, but as a tree instead. That would be fun to do as an exercise when just a Bobby tree. Can you make him into a tree? That'd be a cute idea too. That could be fun. So let's see. We'll do this here, add that there, and we're trying our best to map this out, curve it all the way around, but not do too much. It seems like the curve here isn't too strong. It's just a little bit. It comes out a little bit. It doesn't do a lot. It's just here because it needs to be. It doesn't do a lot for us. It's just a bonus, you could call it even. So we'll do this guy about here, I'm thinking. And we could even sharpen it up or do something like this where we can see some of it. Or not some of it, but what's the word I'm looking for? We can add the outline here. That way, we can then add in the inline, the part that we're looking to really show off. So I can do a little bit of a tendril here, something like that. And now we would add in the highlight, the brighter color here to show off the inside. And you could certainly do like a paint bucket tool. You could do the outline tool as well. But I think sometimes doing it this way and carving it is a little bit easier to do. So we'll do a little bit of carvy. We don't want this guy to feel like it's not going downwards a little bit though. So we'll remove that guy there. And then I think that's good to go. That one there, probably want to move this guy to here, remove that guy there, then go back to the lighter color, and this guy here would get our lighter color. So we're going all for the light color. Now, that guy there isn't very pointy, so I'll remove that. Well, actually, I quite like the little point. I think the little point's okay. So you know what? We'll keep it. We won't do too much with it, but we'll keep it. Something I'm thinking here, and then this guy can kind of go up, and then this guy goes down a little bit. Maybe we can even round it out a little bit more down here. Hold on, wrong color. Round that guy out a little bit more. That guy gets rounded out. That guy can come in a little bit just to make it a little bit more even here. And then probably could also move that there, Kind of, sorta. It's a little bit too much, but that's okay. We're just slowly doing this. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're just going for the feel of it. That's the main point of this. So let's see. Maybe drag that in so now it's more of a counting number. I'm doing my best to try to keep in the idea of 3s and 2s or alternating numbers. You can kind of see here that this is 2, 2, 1, 2, 2. So anytime I'm trying to move it up or down, I'm trying to keep in mind that if we're going up a little bit or down a little bit, just keep in mind doing numbers that are close together. So I wouldn't do 2, then 4, something like that. Let's see. Move that down there, move this down here, a little bit more. Hold on. Move this guy about here-ish. And then we kind of have that guy curving up a little bit more. Maybe we can even bring this guy down a little bit and do something like that, a smidge. And I think that's quite nice. Maybe we can move that guy there, move that guy down there, this guy up here, and then curve him up a little bit. Something like that. There we are. Okay. I quite like this little patch here for our arm, for our at least initial part. Next up, we're going to need another one, and they kind of go over top of each other and a little bit underneath. I see them broken down into big, medium, small, so you can kind of see big, 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 and then you have a few mediums in here. So we'll keep that in mind. We'll try to do something like that, where maybe this guy kind of wraps around or wraps in as he's kind of trying to show off more space. So maybe it's more so this here, as we can kind of see some of the roots come outwards a bit. There-ish, I'd say, possibly. We could move that there. And then we're going to need a few more. And I kind of also see this as being an old man beard as well. I could see that being the case. So I'm just doing my best to see, okay, what's next after this? And I'll also duplicate this layer just in case we need to come back to it. But I'll duplicate this guy, remove it. And let's try to do at least 2 more of the big ones. So we'll do, I'm thinking another one here. Hold on. Probably another one. Let's see. Oh no, These guys also don't have the round part that separates it. That's also something to keep in mind, that that round bit does not get added in, which is interesting to say the least. So what we might do instead then is have it kind of come outwards. Oh, hold on. Kind of come outwards, where we will remove this part later. We're just using it as a base idea. And then we can maybe have this guy, and I'll make him a little bit bigger to make it a little bit easier on us to design it. But I'm thinking maybe we can come out a little bit here, or maybe we can come in something like that there. Maybe a little bit there. Maybe you can come down a little bit. You can go up a little bit, down a little bit, maybe up a little bit. I don't like it, but it's okay. We can modify it a little bit later. This guy's going to have to kind of come around. So actually, hold on. Let's instead use this bit here for it. So this area here. And I'm thinking what we can do is do this guy here. And then we'd have this guy kind of coming out here. These are the roots. We'll remove the top part later. We're just going for the feel of it. These roots kind of come out, you can kind of see in a curved way. So we'll maybe try to keep that curved look here too, where the curves kind of come out here. So I'll come out there a little bit up and down, trying my best to make it feel like the curves are actually curving and doing tentacle things. Or I keep saying tentacles, don't I? It feels like it should be eldritch, but it's just a normal tree that has a face. There's not a lot going on here. Nothing suspicious at all. If you think it's suspicious, I think that says more about you. So let's see here. Let's go up a little bit, and then we'll go down a little bit. Maybe have this guy kind of curve up a bit, smidge. Something like that there. I definitely think we could modify it a bit, but again, I'm keeping in mind that idea of it kind of curving inwards. So with this here, let's go ahead and add a bit of the lines and the details. Again, we're going for the look of it kind of coming downwards, so I can fill that in. And now hopefully it should look like the roots are coming inwards, not as, what's the word I'm looking for, as drastic as they were initially. And we'll just again carve this down. We're modifying the edges, trying to figure out the outline, and overall just doing our best to make it feel a little bit more natural than it really has any right to be, considering the circumstances. So we'll move this guy down, we'll move this guy down a little bit. Maybe we can kind of have this guy actually go over a little bit, or something I feel like is a little off here. Maybe it's this line here that can go down a little bit. Possibly maybe you can go, that's not too bad. Maybe we can then move that guy up, move that guy down a little bit, possibly also down a little bit more. That way we can get more, a few more numbers on here, and then we can have it turn, possibly a little bit more in line there. And then we can have you turn a little bit more, remove that guy, kind of smooth you out there, move that guy here, hold on, move that guy there, maybe move it up a little bit more, hold on, wrong color, move that guy up a little bit more. Something like that I think is okay, though it feels a little bit too lumpy in this area here, especially when I look up there. So I might say, okay, maybe we can do something downwards a little bit more. Could help, possibly. So let's see. If we go inward a little bit more and move this guy downwards, I definitely think it helps just a smidge. So we'll go ahead and do that guy there, maybe that guy there. And let's see, that's about 2, so possibly bring you in a little bit more here. We'll move you that up there. And then let's see, move this guy about here, move that guy about there. And then we'll do that guy, let's see, you there, you there, you there. Oh, hold on, wrong color. And then we move you about there. And then this guy down here will get some time to shine, and it's kind of maybe going upwards. I quite like the idea of the roots flicking upwards. So these roots kind of flick down, don't they? Which is interesting. These roots are going upwards, down, curl, down. So, truth be told, ours should really kind of curve inwards like this. So we'll follow the rules here. We'll curve it in a little bit, curve that guy in. So we'll move this guy here, move that guy, actually keep you there, and then we'll move you in about there. Something to this extent where we can still see the point, and the point can be very pointy. It doesn't matter too much because I'm seeing the points here are also quite pointy with their edges. So we'll keep it as is. We won't do too much on it. I'm just going in and I'm trying to smooth out some edges here and there to maybe make it not feel as sharp when it comes to all the other angles. Maybe, for example, here, we remove some of the bits so that they're not too, but you can kind of see, right? Removing that made it not as, removing it made it feel like an edge. Adding that, not as sharp. Removing it, very sharp, very cut in. So maybe, in fact, we keep that there. Maybe what we can do is make this guy come out a little bit more. So maybe if we widen this area up a smidge, something like that there. But But then this area kind of feels awkward still, so you might add in, maybe you would go in and remove the sky. Oh, hold on. Make sure I use the right color here. Something there. Maybe we can even add in another curve here. So possibly maybe we can do something like this where the curve kind of comes out a little bit more. It's not as bad. Maybe then we can also move this guy in. So maybe up a little bit there and there. Curve kind of come out there. It's still quite strong. It's still very sharp. So maybe we can do a bit of a round bit there, but I think that's doing too much. And the whole point is not to do a lot. We're just doing a little bit here. So we have those two big roots, and then we kind of have one more kind of strong, long root going on here. So we might do something maybe like this here, where we can still see the big guys kind of curving outwards. Maybe they're curving inwards here, and then they're curving downwards here. But again, we're looking for things that kind of go outwards. So maybe we have the curves kind of come in like this. We're using our, what's the word I'm looking for? We're blocking things in this way because I think it's easier depending on what you're doing. In this case, because we're going for something thicker and because we're trying to get the shape down, I'm choosing to use this method of blobbing things. I do quite like me a blobbing method here and there. So we're trying to blob it in to figure out the shape, and then as we reinforce it, we then kind of modify it a smidge. So for example here, now that we have the idea of our guys, and actually I kind of want to move it over, so I might remove that guy for a moment, grab our edge here, and take our lasso tool instead. And I think that's not a lasso tool. We're looking for the lasso here. And I want to just slide this guy over by, I think 2 would be a little bit better. There's 1 or 2 here. I'm using the arrow keys to slide it over, so I'm going to grab this one here too. And I'm going to slide it over. So grab this guy here and go 1, 2. And like that, I think it makes them a little bit less harsh. I also might then grab this guy here and move him up a little bit. Up by 1 could possibly work. Grab you here up by 1 a little bit there. Oh, hold on. Up there a little bit to help. I think maybe we could even move this guy up 1 more, and then you can come up 1 more just to make sure things are balanced. Oh, hold on. You would come up maybe 1 more here, and then after that, this lump also kind of feels a little bit too strong, so I might actually make you that way, and we'll use our mirroring tool again just to make sure we can get a good feel for it. And I'm using this guy here, kind of carving it in again and just going over it to see where I feel things can be changed a little bit modified, so it's not too harsh in its edges. So we might do that there, might do that there, then maybe also add that in there. And then this guy here will have our we'll dark purple because we don't need it that much. And then I can go in and make sure that these guys here are also aligned the way they should be. Dot, 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 dot there, and a little bit of dotting here, there, and there we are. Okay. I quite like this a little bit more. If anything, might move that up there, move that up there. That way we get a little bit of an edge. This guy here feels a little bit too sharp, so I might also just remove that there. And then this curve here feels a little bit too weird, so I might just move that in there as well. Kind of like that there, but you can kind of see how it looks straight now. And I kind of liked that dip earlier, so we might just continue with this dip over here. That dip made it feel not as bad, truth be told. So I might then go over here to the side. And what I might try to do is make this guy out a little bit longer. So I might grab our other color, this dark color here. Then I might grab that dark color, and then maybe we can do, let's see, you there, and then we can kind of move you in and add a little bit of roundness to this part here. I think works out. And we just need to maybe modify it a little bit more. Maybe now this guy can get our rounder edges, so maybe we can come out a little bit more. So let's see, possibly something here, and then have that guy go there and there. I think that works out fine. Maybe we can round this guy out a smidge more. So something, let's see, like that there, and then move that guy to here. Like that. Possibly, I think they can go up a little bit more. I think they're still too very high. So we can move that guy up a smidge. And that way these guys can now go up a little bit more because we don't need all of that length. That length is not needed for what we have plans on doing. And if anything, I kind of think maybe they can go out a smidge more, possibly. We'll see. But this guy can certainly come in a little bit. And then we can have you also come out a little bit. You can have your line a little bit more apparent. And then we can have you go here, a little bit here, and have you kind of come, oh, hold on, right. We want to go out and down. So this guy would actually come down and outwards, possibly something like that there. And now we add in our outlines. So you might do something, let's see, here. And actually, hold on. I like this better with our lines. So we'll keep to this here. Our line's kind of curving inwards there. And then we have this guy kind of coming upwards. And that can go there. And we'll remove some of the lines because not all the lines are being shown for the different areas. So right now we're just doing a bit of attempts at getting a baseline when it comes to the trees and the root. And I may add in this guy here. Let's see, that guy there, a little bit there. Maybe we can then move this guy downward a little bit to show, hey, this is where it came from. You can kind of see this feels a little bit too straight given everything. So maybe we can kind of curve it inwards a bit here. That way it looks like it's coming in outwards and inwards. So maybe something here-ish, like that there. Maybe we can add in that there, and then move this in here. Nope, I actually think, hold on. That there, hold on. Let's see. I want to move you here, I think will be fine. And then maybe we can kind of move you there. That kind of works, but I think you kind of need lots of kindas here. You need to go there, and it needs to be too long instead. I think the 2 works out or feels a little bit better as a rounding bits. But you can kind of see it still feels sharp. That's okay. We're not looking for really nice edges. We're just looking to not make it look straight as much as it was before. So maybe we can move that there, move that guy there, and we'll go with the 2 number again because I think the 2 was working for us. So we'll move this guy up, and then do the 2 here. I think this looks nicer, so we'll keep it. And then we'll also remove this guy here and add in that guy there. Yep, I think that's okay. We'll keep it for now. And we can also remove that guy there. Lovely, okay. So just to double check and continue or restate what's going on at the moment, we start off with something like this here. And now we're taking this guy here and we're modifying it. So I'll go ahead and grab our guy here and also move him down. That way we can get the different stages a little bit easier. And now we'll also merge you down so that you're in the same area. And now that we have our big, we now need to make our medium and then also our small. So we need to add a few mediums in here. Some of them seem to be mirrored. So we'll keep with the mirrored idea and try to have them go over and under a little bit. For example, maybe we can have, let's see, and I'll do a new layer to make it a little bit easier on us as well. But maybe we can have another guy kind of coming up here. So maybe he can come up here and then curl downwards a little bit. So something, a guy appearing here where we can kind of see him in the shadows, just a smidge, but not quite. So kind of curving in and coming in and out. That way it feels like there's roots going on here that you can't quite see, but everything feels like it's tangly and overlapped is the point we're going for, the look we're going for. So I'll do that there, I think, but it feels a little bit too sharp. So I might just remove that guy there, remove that guy there. And then let's see. That guy can kind of go in. How sharp are these edges? There's a lot of double pixeling going on. So actually, you know, we'll keep it. We'll keep that double pixel because I think it's worth it. After that, we'll go ahead and add this guy in here. And this guy here can be our little guy that gets overlapped and under a little bit. So we'll move that there and then fill this guy in. We'll also move that layer down or merge that layer. That way you can kind of see it coming inwards, outwards. Kind of looks like he's standing now, doesn't he? It's quite odd. And then maybe what we can have happen is you can kind of see this guy goes over, this guy goes under. So we're kind of just trying our best to do lots of tingliness going on here. We might add maybe a guy that goes up here, possibly. So one that kind of comes upwards, like the one here you can kind of see. So something that comes upwards and downwards. So maybe we can have this guy coming downwards here, maybe a little bit more curved and a little bit here. So something there. And then we can have it kind of come maybe here. So this guy kind of comes up and then we can fill you in with this color here. And then maybe we can have you also a little bit darker for our shadows here. So I'll go for something there-ish, possibly. And that doesn't quite look right, does it? So never mind, I take it back. That guy looks like he's going through. We need a few to kind of go inwards and outwards. So maybe we can use, let's see, maybe something to come over here. And then maybe we can use this guy here. Maybe then we can add in a little bit of a few lines here to show it's going on top of it. So maybe we can do something like this instead here. Fill that guy, oh, hold on, fill this guy in with this color here. And then we can have that guy maybe coming outwards now. Outwards and downwards, make it hopefully feel like he's a part of the environment now. Maybe coming down there. Down like this. And then we have it kind of coming inwards. Fill that in with the right color. Make sure we're doing it correct here. And then possibly have you come inwards. And then kind of come downwards. I think that's okay. It kind of feels like it's going upwards. If anything, I feel like doing this here would show it's kind of wrapping downwards and going inwards. But I don't think it's needed. We just need to figure out a way to do it properly. You can even see here where parts are going underneath. There's a lot of darkness going on to show the shadows. So maybe that's something we can do. I definitely like this. I like this. I think we should keep this. But then this guy here should possibly go down a little bit here. Maybe we can do something like this here and then move this guy here and move him downwards and move him like that and have a little bit of showiness where it looks like it's kind of coming inwards. Maybe then this guy can kind of come outwards a little bit. But again, we're not trying to have the areas go underneath too much where the lines are connecting. Then maybe we can have this center guy here. Maybe it comes through and we can remove this here so there's not a lot of competition for lining. And then we can have this guy, hold on, wrong line. This guy come in and maybe kind of come up a little bit here. So you're a bit of a swirl guy going on here. And you have a little bit of a swirl. We don't want to use too much. We're just using very faint markings is the hope I'm trying to do. And maybe this guy can come up here. Maybe then you can show off, hey, look, I actually am a part of this. This guy's going underneath me. And then we have this guy here for our top and this guy here for our other bit. So I can fill this in with this color here. Oh, hold on. Wrong color. That guy can go for that color here. And then we can have this here to show off maybe that it's wrapping around. Maybe we can move this guy up a bit. And we're just trying to keep track of our tingly tree lines here. So for example, let's see, maybe we move this guy down a little bit, curve it inwards just a smidge, something like that there. And then let's see, we can have you kind of going outwards to show off, hey, I'm still here. I'm just not as apparent as you would think. And then this guy here, possibly we can have it go downwards with this guy there. But we don't want to do too many lines, so we'll just fill this in, have this guy as that line there. And we're trying to carve out the shapes. That's the issue here. The issue is that right now, my lines, you can't tell what's going on. Here you can tell. This line goes here, this line goes here, where everything wraps around. And maybe that's why mine feels a little bit too complicated. And maybe I am making mine more complicated than it needs to be. For example, here, these little guys that go downwards, I don't quite like. It feels like maybe the stands are not doing, or doing maybe a little bit too much. Maybe things are a little bit too wide. So we'll remove that there. Or no, actually keep it. It wasn't that bad. Just some parts of it were bad. Not all of it was bad. Something there I think works here. Then maybe we can take something, let's see here, and we can wrap you around. So maybe you can come and sit, let's see, there, and then you can kind of come, let's see, maybe come down here, and then you can kind of come down there, kind of wrap around there, curl down there. And then we'll move you and move you to about there-ish, maybe. That guy comes down like the root there, but something just feels off about it, doesn't it? And I think the thing as well is just keeping it simple. We don't have to go as detailed as they are, keeping it to big, medium, small. We have our big guys. I like this medium guy here. This is certainly a small guy that we see around this edge here. So we might instead, let's see, maybe we can have this edge, and hold on, let me undo that there so that they're symmetrical again. And then maybe we can have this guy curve outwards. That way you can see the curve as it's coming outwards. So maybe as it's going up here, we make it follow up here, have that curve come around here, as they're both curves though, because that one's coming down and this one's coming out a bit there and there. I think that's okay. This here though, I quite like it coming inwards a little bit to show off a bit of guy going on here. Maybe we can curve this outwards a little bit more. And this guy can come outwards just a, hold on, just a smidge more with its line work. And then that can go there, let's see there, if it lets me, there and there. Yeah, that's not as bad. I think showing off the lines in this way is easier. And then maybe we can remove this here, have it kind of tuck underneath, and then have it kind of come here. So maybe we have you going down, and maybe you can kind of come downward there. And then maybe that looks like it's coming downwards in that direction there. It doesn't have to be a lot, just enough to hopefully imply that they're together. They're holding hands in a way. So we'll move you there, move you there. That feels better, right? It feels like this guy is going underneath and then over and under. We'll also add this here for more shading, just the overlap area bit here. And I want to do a few more. I want to do one here. I want to do another one here, and I want to do another one here. And then I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be satisfied. So let's see here. What else can we do? We can, and I'll also go ahead and copy this just so that if we do make mistakes, we can come back to this good old boil, good old reliable, or at least what we have currently. And good news is it's looking less like Squidward and more like a tree root, hopefully is the case. I definitely do have to draw more Bobby art though. That is what it's making me realize, is that I don't have a lot at the moment to help with the feel. Let's see, maybe we can do something here. And then we have, let's see, this guy here, super duper small, kind of coming in downwards. We can kind of see how it doesn't feel quite right when you do a lot over top of another. So maybe what we can do here is have a guy that comes down. Maybe it kind of comes underneath these areas here. It kind of comes down, underneath, and then maybe it has this guy come through. So maybe something to this extent here. This guy comes, let's see, comes downwards, and maybe you're a little bit darker, so just show off that it goes downwards. This guy wraps around, and with that guy wrapping around, let's see, hold on. This guy wraps around, a bit like that there. And then let's see here. Maybe you can come, no, this way could work too. It feels like almost that it's connected there as well. So maybe, you know, maybe that bit cut off can feel like it's coming from under there. And we're going for something tangled, where we want a tangly feel for certain. It's just a matter of how to tangle, how to make it feel like there is a method to the madness, while still making it mad enough that you can't quite understand, and you have to second guess yourself and see if you're being gaslit into believing the lies. But there's no lies here, just uncertain truths, or truths with a question mark. That's how I would like to think of it instead. We'll make this guy a little bit, let's see, darker here, possibly, to make it look like it's going up, but nope. I quite like this. I think this guy needs to come downward a little bit to make it look less like that there. Yeah, I quite like that. And then this guy here, maybe a little bit darker around this area here to make it look a little bit more suspicious, like maybe it could come from that underneath ground area. So we'll go up here a bit, that there. I think that works out. We could even add a bit here to make it look like possibly that there's a little bit of shading going on as well. So I might just do that there. Maybe add a little bit more shading here to make it look like it's going up. And then maybe add another shading bit down there and add that guy down. Let's see. Where can I add it at? Down there? Nope. Down. Let's see. Down there? Nope. I don't quite like that. Hold on. Down there? Nope. I liked it better how it was before, so we'll keep it as it was before. We'll remove that and add that. So it makes it look like this guy's going over. This guy's kind of coming under. And then we can maybe have another guy coming through here. So I'll possibly do, let's see. Another guy, maybe he can kind of be a little straight here, maybe coming over through. Fill this in with this color here to make it not, or to try to get a good feel of it. Maybe you can kind of come downwards a little bit, guy here, and then you can come over and down a smidge. And then we can have you come up a bit here, and then you can fill in with your light color there. And then we have our dark color here, because that guy's coming downwards. And we don't want this to feel too highlighted, and I also want to add a bit here as well. So once we do there and there, let's figure out this guy a little bit more. So let's see. If this guy's coming underneath, then you might have a little bit less space to go over here, but we want it to seem like the area, the patterns are coming from under and directing towards here. So I'm going to do my best to try to show off that direction of light to make it look like it's curving and going around. That's what I'm really trying to focus on. So let's see here. We have this guy coming on. This guy could really technically go down a little bit as well, because you're not quite needed for that area over there. And then this guy here, maybe we can kind of have you come outwards. These guys don't have to be too connected. So I'm actually going to do this here. That way we get our mirror back. And this guy can kind of just have a flat space maybe and fill this guy in there. That could work. I could see that being the case for that one there at least. Something like that. And then maybe we can get another straight guy here, possibly this here. Maybe that fill that in. Nope. I think there's too many tangled messes going on there. So let's keep it as it is. And then after that, I think here is a little bit too congested with the dark color. So let's try to modify it a little bit. For example, here is in light, so maybe we can remove some of these. Remove just a few of them. I'll undo our highlight area here, or our symmetry tool here, to hopefully show off a little bit of just highlighting portions. So anything that would possibly look like it would touch the light, I'm going to remove a bit. This guy here might be a little removed. Maybe you can come up a little bit here, possibly up there. Maybe then we can move you down here, dampen you a little bit, dampen you a little bit too. Maybe you can come down a smidge. Well, actually, I want you to go a little bit darker here. So possibly there-ish would be a little bit more appropriate. And then this guy here would come out. You're a little bit darker down there. So you might get the darker treatment down there. There you go. And we can also add in one there too. There we are. Okay, I think we're good to go. At least for now. Just keeping it simple. It's not one-to-one, and it's not quite what they're doing, but it's okay. You can see little parts here that stick out too, which I think are quite cute. Okay, that's fine. Now that we have our roots base, let me go ahead and also make the sprite bigger. So sprite canvas size, we'll make the sprite canvas size bigger. That way we have more space to deal with. I'll go ahead and copy this guy here, slide you on over like so. That way we can get a good feel for our progression starting from here to now. Something here-ish is working out, I would say, partially, at the very least, a little bit at a time. So what we'll do next is we need to figure out that expression, but before the expression, I want to do a little bit of that hair. So we'll grab this color here, and with our brush, we can have a little bit of fun with it. So I'll save it, and we'll go for our paintbrush tool we've used in the past before, especially with clouds, and let's see if we can find a fun pattern for it. We could possibly go for 4, I think was the number, or usually not 24. Nope. 4. 4 is the color we want to possibly see about. That doesn't feel quite right, and it's also not the brush tool. So let's see. A 4 brush, not too bad, not too bad. Let's try upping this guy here a little bit. Not too bad. Maybe up the spray a little bit here. Let's see. Not too bad. Let's up this number here. Lower these guys just a smidge. So maybe you there. Not quite what we're looking for. This guy's now too big. These guys need to be a little bit bigger, I think. So something there. That's a little bit better. This here's the spray speed. This one is the spray radius, I think. Yes, spray width. Let's make the spray a little bit bigger. Nope, actually, never mind. We'll make the spray speed a little bit bigger. I quite like that. Something like this here, and then we can kind of curve it outwards and upwards, and just do a little bit of a light padding overall. I'll move this guy down a bit, and then we can kind of add the leaf texture that comes along with it. So I'll remove you down there, and then we'll add in a little bit of a fluffy leaf up here, and we'll just move this guy out. Now, the good news is we have this as a... Oh, never mind. I was going to say this was a second layer. Nope. We're doing this on one layer, apparently, which is okay. I just wasn't expecting it. And we can kind of see the leaf shapes that we've seen before. Pointy, spiky, depending on the area. So what we'll do is we'll have this guy up here. We'll add, or we'll remove some area here just so that we can have some face for when we do add the face eventually. So we'll leave this area untextured and just go for the spot. Now, something to notice is that it covers on top. It feels like the bush area instantly, there's no behind it, there's only in front. Which means that if we look back here, you can kind of see that sometimes it blends. So I'll just do this here. And then slowly but surely, I'll do my best to try to add a leaf texture. If I zoom in here, you should hopefully be able to see the idea that these leaves are pointy. They're quite thick too. So I might grab this one here. That's a leaf. That could easily be seen as a leaf. You might see this one here as a leaf. Maybe something like that could be a leaf. Maybe even that could be a leaf, right? And we're just doing our best to make it feel like leaves could exist here. Maybe we have a little bit of a swirling leaf there. Maybe then we have a boxy sort of leaf going on here. Maybe then we can kind of have it come out a little bit. Maybe a leaf can exist here. Or maybe it can look like, let's see, that there. Have a leaf kind of come out there. That looks like a leaf. That certainly feels leaf-like. And we're keeping the leaves outwards, it seems like, and downwards, depending on where we're going. I also see some quite fluffy leaves, so we might go for example, here, circular bit there. Maybe add in, let's see, circular bit. So we're keeping it circular. Maybe we can add a little bit of a poof up here. That looks like it's going upwards. And maybe add in a little bit there. And then maybe we can have a little bit of a downwards poof. Maybe another double poof going on here. Double poof action. And then for here, let's move out a little bit. Retract it a smidge. Maybe we can have another poof here. And it looks like a triple poof there. How's our guy looking? Not too shabby, not too shabby. I don't know what happened here. What's going on here? Hold on. Let me copy you. Hold on. If I save you here. And you should be even. So I don't know why it's doing that. But I should be able to copy, paste it, and slide it over to, let's see. About here-ish, I think. Move that over there. Yeah, for some reason, the tree decided, nah, I don't want to cooperate, which is okay. We can take it as it is. I'll paste the sky, and now we flip it over to the proper side here. And now it should be, oh, hold on. Paste it, slide it over, and flip it to make sure it's flipped as well. And you should go about here-ish. There you go. Okay. Hopefully, now it's not as bad as it was. We'll keep going on with the idea of just leafy bits. You can kind of see the pointy angles that are also going on here. So maybe we can add, oh, that was actually pretty good. You know what? We'll keep it. Maybe a little bit here though, and maybe even the down point here. We don't want to do too much, but we want it to seem natural. Maybe we can do this guy here. Maybe that guy can go here. And I'm looking here as well to see what we're seeing on the big screen from a further perspective. So I'm doing my best to not make the shapes too big. We want them to feel like they're blending in quite. For example, here, I like that little guy going up, and oh, I forgot to do the mirror again. Oh no, hold on, delete this guy here. I'll grab this here, copy it, paste it, flip it. We'll slide you over by 2. And I believe you go in by 1, if I'm not mistaken here. That looks about right. Let me turn on our mirror mode, and anything we do on one side, we'll just do on the other side as well. I'm thinking again here, we do another, I quite like the pointy bits. That's what I'm trying to stick to. So maybe we can add, maybe a bit that goes up here, possibly. But again, you can kind of see where the tree feels like it doesn't quite look right. So maybe we can do something down here, or maybe we can do a leaf down here a bit more. Maybe we can move you back down a little bit here, maybe move you down. Actually, I quite like this. I think this is okay. And then we can kind of have another guy coming outwards to show off that it's not too bad being on this side of town. And maybe we can do that there. And then maybe this guy can come out a little bit and come curving outwards a smidge. I quite like that. And then we'll have another guy kind of coming up here maybe, or no. Maybe we can have a portion coming here, or maybe going up a bit. Not too up though, because the leaves would be defying gravity, and we're not going for defying gravity leaves. We're keeping it not wicked here. So let me go ahead and move you here, move you there. Maybe we can have a little bit of a bubble going on, maybe, possibly something like that there. Then we also need to make sure that it feels like it works. So I like the bubble there, but then this guy here, so maybe we can move that guy down there. Maybe then we can add a bit here, but a bit there. It's not too bad. And then we have another guy maybe coming up here. And coming up there a little bit curved. I'm adding another spot, I think, here, which will be fine. We want the leaves to still feel like they're leafing or believing in themselves. So maybe move this guy upwards, add a little bit more so it looks like it's curving inwards, possibly about, let's see, there-ish. And then maybe we can have it curl inwards a smidge there. Maybe something like that there. Maybe we can have it kind of move like that there. I think that's okay. Maybe we can add a little bit more here for a little bit more definition. We don't want it to seem like it's mimicking the other side though. So possibly that's good to go there. Then maybe we can have another kind of fluffy bit here go around town. And then maybe we can have this guy come in here. So that guy gets filled in. This guy can get rounded a little bit for our fluff. Maybe the fluff kind of goes upwards a bit there. And I don't quite like how small these guys are. So I might instead just merge it into one. And I also want it to not feel like there's much of a curve going on. So I'm actually going to remove this here. I'm going to make this guy a little bit smaller. And actually I'm going to make you go down as well too. So that you're not too big. Make you go, let's see, rounder here. I think that's fine. Maybe come up a little bit more. Maybe really just move you inwards just a smidge there. Yeah, like that. I think that's fine. I quite like your little floofy pattern here, so we'll keep that down there. And then maybe we can have one last pattern here, which kind of just looks like a circle bit here. So nothing too big, just something to be around. Just to live here for a little bit until we shave off some other parts of it, some other portions to go alongside it. So I'll move this here. Maybe you can move that one. Nope, hold on. No, I quite like that one. I think that one works out fine. This one here can maybe get a little bit of more of a, hold on. Let's see, let's look up here. The trees get, what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of leaves happen at the very top, you can kind of see. So I'm gonna keep to that idea where maybe we have one leaf kind of going up here, and that could be a little bit of a leaf there. And then maybe we have another leaf kind of coming outwards here. So maybe we can get another leaf going on here. Maybe another leaf here for another leafy feel. Again, I'm just going off of feels, and if it doesn't feel right at the end, that's okay. We're working through it. We're trying our best to figure out what feels nice, what doesn't, and what can we do to fix it. We'll move this guy over. I'm thinking we can add in another guy probably here. Probably another guy here. I'm blotting it out a little bit too to fill it in, make it feel a little bit more random with the leaf parts. Some possibly here, maybe that there. Maybe even a little bit here to make it not feel so interconnected. Maybe this guy can come up a little bit more, add a little bit more volume on that portion there. Maybe this guy can kind of come up a little bit more to add a little bit more dent. Possibly add you there, add you there. Nope, hold on. Remove you about here, here. Add in that singular guy there, there, there. Nope. Remove that so it looks like a portion. Maybe this guy can come up a little bit there. And then this guy here can get moved over a smidge. And maybe it can come over there. Yeah. And maybe you can have a little bit more of a point. And that can come downwards. Though this doesn't quite feel like what I'm going for. So I'll also move this guy inwards a smidge and down. Something like that there. And before we continue, I'm also going to make sure we do have wonderful symmetry going on here. So I'm going to delete it, save it. I'm going to copy this guy here, move him over, paste him over. That way we know for certain it stays symmetrical. Though this portion here also needs to be corrected. So I'll also delete you here. And then I'll copy this guy here. I'll go ahead and paste it, move it over. And I want to make sure that this guy here aligns with that side. There we are. Symmetry. There we go. That's a little bit better. So you can kind of see where some parts of it are full, some parts of it aren't. You can see as well that my leaves are very small compared to the other ones. I have a lot of big ones going up here, and there's a little bit of a dent going on in this area. So I might add another dent, let's see, or loosen out the dent a smidge so that it feels a little more full. So you might do, let's see, another guy here, maybe another, that's not too bad. That there, maybe a little bit here for another leaf. And doing it on the bigger scale as well helps you not worry about the what's the word I'm looking for? The specific part of it. So we can add kind of like that there, maybe a little bit there, maybe add a little bit of a slight curve even. Depends on how you want to do your leaves. I quite like the curves usually, so I go for the curvy feel. Something there, maybe a little bit there. Nothing too big. We don't want it to feel too much. Just want it to feel enough that it is capable of handling the stress and strain we're about to apply on it in the future. So maybe something like that there. Yeah, that's not too bad. It's not too bad. Maybe then we can also add in another part about there-ish. And then maybe a little bit there and maybe a little bit more so there. Maybe a little bit there. Possibly cut you out there. Okay, I am okay with this. The thing is, this guy has a little bit of a toppy bit at the top. Yes, indeedy. Something like this here, it seems to be the case of, and you've kind of filled that in. Something like that, it seems to be. And then this guy here also kind of goes in a little bit, so I'm seeing a bit of squished bit here, and then that kind of goes in the center there, and then you kind of go up a little bit more, and then you would add in a bit here and a bit there, and then fill that in as well. But for now, you know what? We'll keep it as it is. It's okay. Everything will be fine. Hopefully. The fun part begins now. We can work on the face, and then we can also work a bit on the blossoms and the leaves. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and copy this guy here. Now, granted, he definitely doesn't fit in our space, but that's okay. The whole point is that it was just a guide to get us in the right direction. We can always modify it to actually work within the space if I really want to, but it's okay. We're just keeping it as simple as we can. Now, fun part, we get to bring in our reference a little bit and see if we can make him a little bit angry. I'm noticing the eyes here, I'm noticing the big nose and the smile, but we don't want smile. Nah. We're not going for smile here. We want angry. So we'll start off by doing the nose too. A big nose, a huge nose kind of going on here. Nose kind of starts out round and it goes in a little bit, and then there's also a shadow for the nose. So you might say, or might add a nose here. Maybe you can even add the nose here. Something like that I think is okay. I'll zoom out as well so you can see the two guys. This nose is actually wider, so I'm going to make our nose wider. Let's see, wider nose here, something like that there, I definitely think that's better. However, I think this guy up here could use a little bit of a tweak up there. Yeah, I think that's good. And then you would add in the line to make it feel a little bit more like there's a bit of shadow going on here. But you can also see it kind of goes up a little bit for the lines. So how can we add that? And what I mean is there's a corner here, and then there's another extension. For ours, there's not really a corner. So I'm wondering if there's a way we can add that corner. Just, yeah, something like that. A corner like that, but then this guy also needs to go down a little bit more. So something like that there. And then this guy can come out a little bit more. Maybe that guy can come out a smidge. Hold on. This guy can come out here, and that guy can go, let's see, there and there. And maybe it can come out a little bit more as well. Something there and there. Yeah, I quite like that more. He's got a grumpy face though, so we gotta keep that in mind. So I'm gonna move this up a little bit here. And then let's see if we can add in that angry face. And this kind of goes down and then up a little bit. So let's see. Kind of goes down, a bit of a frown here, a bit of a scowl too. And it's a little bit hard to see just because of this here. So let's see. I'll do the symmetry tool again and we'll modify it based off of that. It kind of has the frown going on here and we want to keep it in the center. And right now, hold on, our nose is not in the center. That needs to go, let's see, there and there. Okay, and then we have the line kind of coming in here and line kind of going in here. I'm thinking we can also move that down a little bit. Let's add in a little bit more frown area here. It's kind of more of a scowl to him as well, doesn't he? So we'll move this as well. Something like that there and that there. Yeah, we can also make it wider though because the tree itself or the tree we're referencing is also a little bit wider. So maybe we can go for something a little bit more subtle with its wideness or at least frown like that. Yeah, but another thing I want to do is I want to lower this guy down by a few to make it look like he's going harumph. I want a harumph type of face. So I'll move this guy down a bit more and symmetry will not be added here, but that's okay. And just okay. Something to this, let's see, bit here, that bit there. Yeah, something where this guy's going downwards, but I kind of want a little bit more of a curl, so I might do something here, and then he kind of has the frown going on. So maybe something more so, let's see. Maybe it should go down or over by 2. That kind of works here. Down by 1, over by 1, and then this guy can go down by 1. Nope, I quite like it going downwards, so maybe we can do something there, something there. That's not too bad. I'm thinking, let's see. Yeah, that frown's okay. And then I want you to have a higher frown up here, so I might move this guy up here. And then you have the line, and then we have the line here. Now he kind of looks like he has a very frowny face, and that's what we're going for. We're going for frown. So let's see, you also come down, maybe a little bit more frown there too. Just it looks a little bit off in terms of symmetry, which is what we're looking for. So I'm thinking a big harumph like this. And is it mirrored? I think it actually might be mirrored. Hold on. If I grab that tool and just put this here. No, it's not exactly mirrored, which is okay. You know what? I'm okay with doing this then. If it wants to be mirrored, I'll let it be mirrored. And this guy would go on, I believe, this side here. So I think it would actually be that there, and then I remove this guy. Yeah, something like that. But I want to move it maybe to this here, that there. But actually, you know, let's keep it like this. Let's keep it simple. We're not doing too much. We just have an angry expression. And now his eyes are definitely angry now. This guy doesn't have a, what's the word I'm looking for? He doesn't have eyebrows. So we don't need to add the eyebrows, but the eyes themselves can be something angry, something like that there. Yeah, harumph. And the thickness of the lines aren't a lot. So I'm going to keep that in mind and do not too much. We don't need a lot. You can kind of see his harumph going on when you really look at it. So we're going to do something like that there, I think. And then we're going to need the nose as well. So this is where we can add in the look of as if there are eyebrows actually going on here. So I'm going to add in a little bit of brow line there. And then we're going to also add the nose part. So we can do something maybe here. And then let's say add in a bit of nose here and here. So something like this here. Not quite. It looks like too much of an H. So I'm going to do that instead. And then we have our eyebrows there. I think that works out fine. We might just need to round it out a little bit. Actually, I think this is okay. Keeping it not too much, just enough to show that we know there's a nose there. So something like that. Maybe we can add in a buffer kind of going upwards a bit there. And that's not too bad, I'd say. Up there, maybe like that. Not too bad. If we zoom out a little bit, you can kind of see the two different expressions. Now, this guy here also has a wide face that makes him look, I think, a little bit happier. Ours doesn't have as much of a wide face, and he also has a little bit of old, wrinkly lines, which I quite find cute, too. Lastly, what we're going to need to do here is also add the, what is it? The leaves. So let's also add those in, shall we? Like maybe a leaf here. We can add in a bit of a guy up here. Maybe there's another leaf that goes around here. Maybe a leaf up there. And then maybe there's another leaf down here. Maybe we can add in a leaf like that there. There's not too many leaves here. Just enough to show off. And then we'll also add in our shadow for the leaves. So let's see. If I zoom in a little bit, what are we seeing around the shadows? All of them seem to have a shadow along the edge at least. So let's add those in. there doesn't seem to be a shadow at the corner, so I'm not going to do a shadow there, for example. I'm going to leave them without the corners. So we'll do that there, that there, that there. They're also at the side though, so I'll take that into account as well. And that there and that there would be our shadows for our little guy here. A little angry man, which is, I'd say, quite adorable. Maybe we can add in another guy about here. And I think we're good. Maybe we can do a bit of a bush there to show off the curves, or at least a curve of flower going on here. Maybe a little bit downwards there. And then maybe we can add in some dark parts here, or the, what is it called? Not the edge, it's just the shadow. The shadow there. Maybe even, yeah, shadow there. What do you think? Let's zoom out a little bit. I'm possibly thinking maybe we can add in a little bit more roundness here, but I'm quite okay with the shadow here. Maybe we can move it up here. So something to this bit. Maybe we can move it downward in a little bit. And that way it's not all singular line. I think that looks a little bit nicer. Something like that there. And then after that, we're going to need a few vines too. And this part here doesn't have any symmetry. So I'm going to use the liberty of just maybe a vine here. And we won't do too much. There seems to be a small, for example here, small leaf here. Maybe another leaf here. Oh, hold on. Maybe another leaf here. Not there, that there. I also want to do a few flowers though, so I might do, let's see, another line maybe here. And then maybe we can have a flower here, so I'll grab the two colors for the flowers, the yellow and the pink. Maybe we can have a flower here, and then, oh, I'll put the yellow and the pink here for now. And then I'll also add in a bit here, so that it looks like it's kind of maybe bending down with the lines from the vine bit. So maybe we can do something here. Well, actually, move it over a bit there-ish. I think we'll be fine. You can kind of see there. And then after that, let's see. We'll have you attach in. I'm thinking maybe we can have a flower here, maybe another flower here, maybe another flower here. And then a few leaves here and there. So maybe a leaf like here-ish. Maybe another one down back here. Show off the, what is it called? I'm not sure what word I'm looking for, but just perspective. That's the word I'm looking for. Maybe we have a leaf kind of going around here. A bigger leaf. A bigger guy to show off a bit of scale. And then maybe another leaf down here. And then we can have, if we slide back over, you can see some of the lines. And this guy here is actually a big yellow area here. Maybe I'll add another one here. And then I'll do an itty bitty tiny one here. We'll add in this guy here, there. And then for this one here, we'll do, let's see, maybe just a single one there. And then we'll add for this one here, one there, and there. And then for this one here, we'll also do one here, and one here. And then maybe we can also add in the vine back below, and that guy can go down there. How about that if we zoom out a little bit? I think that's, well, hold on. I don't quite like it, I'll be honest. Something about it is off, which is okay. I think it is maybe our use of finery vines. Maybe what we can do is do that vine there. That's a little better. That's definitely a little bit better. Maybe we can have you kind of come down a little bit, or maybe you can go up a little bit. Something there. Hold on. Something like this here. Have you round about... Nope, hold on. There. It's a little bit too thick, but it's okay. I think we'll be fine. And we'll add in also the little small guys we saw before, so I might want to add one there and one... Oh, hold on. We don't want it to be too symmetrical, so maybe some one there. Okay. I think we're good to go so far. We'll keep it as it is for that and continue. So now that we have our big guys done, let us go up in line and see what we have to do next. So I'll go ahead and save this guy here, move this guy downwards, go ahead and erase you because you're not needed, save you there, and then let's see. I'll go ahead and save you, do a new layer, or not new layer yet, now new layer, paste, and slide you upwards. We don't need the highlights anymore, they're not required. We're just looking for these highlights. So let me go ahead and save this guy here. We'll grab the color, and what are some things we see right away? We see highlights for the eyebrows, most certainly. So what I'll do is I'll grab our symmetry tool again, and we can kind of see that there are some areas, if I zoom in as well, you can tell a little bit better that a lot of the edges here that have a bit of, what's the word I'm looking for? There's a middle ground, the dark bits that are outlining, or how can I describe it? This here, when I undo, fill you in here, the lines are then carved above. So what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing this guy, all of these guys are edged out a little bit. Maybe then this here has a little bit of curve going on. And then this guy here also has a little bit of edge going on. So you might see this guy here, and all of them have weight to them on the line, so you can kind of tell. And I might add in this guy here. Maybe that guy can go there. This line can go there. And if I zoom out, hopefully it looks a little bit easier to see. This guy here definitely has there's too many angles going on. So I might actually move this guy in a smidge here. Then move this guy in, let's see, there. Too many angles going on. We want it to feel curved. I might add a line in here to add a little bit of curve. Let's see. That guy kind of goes in a little bit there. And this guy here has all along the edges. So all the edges here are a little bit darker. You can kind of see there. And then this guy here could also be just a bit darker because of the eye. So you might do this guy here, might do that guy there. And then the eyes can also come up a little bit to show off the less shading because of the eyes. So you might do maybe there, maybe there even. But you could also do more heavy dark outlines for the bottom, but we don't need to because that's not where we're seeing eyes as the, what's the word I'm looking for, the overhang of the nose. So I'm doing them up here instead because hopefully then it'll show the real darkness behind them. So something that's a little bit lighter on the shading there. If we zoom in, you can also see the wrinkles going on here. So what we might do is add in our dark lines now, and we might do, let's see, lines from here to here, because that's what we're seeing for the man's wrinkled face itself. So we might do something like that there, maybe even a little bit carved out so that it looks like maybe, and if we zoom out, hopefully you can kind of tell. This guy here, though, should be curved in a little bit more. And yeah, actually, never mind. I take it back. We'll add you in there, and then we'll move you to be, let's see. Our lines, maybe we do around. So something here-ish. That's not too bad. I like that better. We'll keep it there then. We'll do lines like this here and make you look a little bit curved. Something there. And then after that, we're also going to need the underbit, and the underbit tends to have a kind of darker line there. So we'll add that dark bit there. And then there's a little bit of highlight also along the top of the roots. So I'll also do that there. And then we'll fill this in since it's not needed. I'll add that guy in there. Fill that in. That's not needed as well, to hopefully help us fill in the edges a little bit more, where you can kind of see the mouth and the underside of the mouth a little bit more, hopefully, with the lighting changes. Maybe we can even move this guy up a little bit more. Maybe remove that guy there, move that guy there, to hopefully make it seem like the lip has a bit more field going on to it, is the hope I'm going for here. Let's see, something to that bit there. And this guy as well can possibly come out a little bit more. Maybe then we can have a little bit of line. Oh, that's not too bad. It's not too bad at all. Having that line there. And now we're going to need some other lines. For example, you can kind of see the bags underneath the eyes of the guy. So maybe we can add in some bags for underneath the eyes. Something here for more of an aged weather type of face going on. So we'll follow that in. Maybe a little bit more over here. No, actually, I like this a little bit more. You can kind of see as well that the eyes don't always go or follow those lines, so we'll keep that in mind as well. Something here might be where we follow. Actually, I like the eye bags, so we'll keep the eye bags. Just do something else a little bit more. Maybe we can do that there and that there and that there. I like that. I like that a lot. The nose also gets more, let's see, the nose gets more shadow, so we'll add the shadow back in there. And then it seems to be the case we're also going to need some bits to curve out here for the rest of the face, so we'll do that too. Some bits maybe here-ish. Maybe like that there, down there, that, like that. I'm not too opposed to the lines. Yeah, I'm not opposed at all. There's also a line here on the nose, so maybe we can add in, let's see. Maybe the line can come out a smidge here. Then you can kind of move that nose in, that nose line. A bit there. Let's see. Yeah, I quite like it. And maybe we can add in the darkness here underneath. Something there-ish. And we can then add in the lines here for our nose, so there's not a lot going on. Just enough to show us what is supposed to be an angry face. Maybe we can add in, let's see. What if we do a line here? I'm not too opposed to that, actually. Maybe we can do this here, or maybe more so here. Nope, I quite like the line not doing that. Never mind, you take it back. Something here. So we're just trying our best to show off lines that aren't 100% there, but that are still there. You can still see them. something here, for example, we can kind of see the top of the lips. I think that works out. We can see the bottom there. Maybe we can even add in a line here. Hold on. Add in a line here where we can see a little bit more of the face, and maybe then we can wrap this out a bit more too. Depends. I definitely think I like the line in the center here, so we'll keep it. We'll just need to round out this area here. So I'll round out that bit there and there. I think is fine and good to go. After that, let's see here. I think that's good. Yeah, it feels angry. That's what we're going for. Though the nose itself does have lines around it, so maybe we can do this here and that there to add more edge and flair to the nose so that it feels more like a nose. And then maybe we can add in that dark color here so that it doesn't feel like what's the word I'm looking for? It doesn't feel like there is a lot going on in that bit there. And let's see, zoom in a little bit so I can see a smidge better. We'll undo this bit just so I can understand what's going on here. And it seems to be the case that some of the lines do come through, but not all of them. So I might do that there. And then I think we'll be fine. Maybe we can add in that line for the nose there. So we have that, and I'll remove that there. I think that's fine. It feels angry enough. After that, what we'll do is also add in some highlights. So for example, here you can kind of see the two circular highlights going on here. So maybe that's what we can do here. Just a bit of highlighting going on in those areas. And then we have a bit going on here. So I might do maybe a bit of highlight for these bits here. Something along the lines of this, and this. We want to keep them rounded though. So I'm doing my best to also make sure it looks like there could be a circle motion or circle action going on. So maybe something like that there. We have this guy here who's kind of symmetrical, but not quite. So I might just remove that there. I'll then remove this guy here and we can do our own highlights. For example, I'm thinking something up here can certainly be worthy of a highlight. Something along the top of this guy here. This guy also has a highlight. This guy also has a highlight, but for some reason that didn't sound right. So we'll add in that highlight there, kind of showing off, hey, look, this is where the highlight of our guy is. So maybe we can do that there. Then we can have a highlight here, because I think that's where a highlight would go for that portion there. This guy, I think, also deserves a highlight. Maybe a highlight around here, and then up here a little bit, so a bit of a highlight there. I'm also thinking this guy here would deserve a highlight too. Maybe a highlight can go here, and also bridge that gap there. So fill that guy in there for a highlight. Something like that there to show off, hey, look, we do have some round bits going on here. And then here, we can also have a highlight for the top bits, so all along that line there can kind of show off our highlighted portions. I'm okay with that. This guy here can also have the top bits highlighted, so maybe the top guy, maybe even the tip there can be highlighted. And then we can also do it for the other side. So actually, let's see if I can save it here. I'll grab this guy here. Oh, hold on, contiguous, make sure you're checked. Copy you, paste you, flip you over, and just slide you to where you should be over here. So something there, and then we also need you, hold on, you and you and you and you. Copy you again, flip you, and move you over to your spots. I believe that would be your spot. Yes, indeedy. Is there any other spot I think could be highlighted? I think we're fine. These spots are a-okay in my opinion, so we'll keep them. With that said, we'll go ahead and copy this guy and continue on. Save it, copy it, and slide you on up. So now what we're seeing, what we're taking into account, if we move our guy up here, and we can go ahead and remove our face as well. We don't need the highlights anymore. We're looking at the leaves, and the leaves themselves are a little bit special. And oh, hold on. There's also some leaf highlight going on here, but before that, let's also add in, if we zoom in here, you can kind of see the little four corner circles or four corner dots going on for the edges. So I'll also add those in because they're already there. That's also just there. Lots of theirs, isn't it? And then I'll go ahead and grab this color here. We'll also just go ahead and highlight those portions of the leaves. So for example, here I think was a leaf idea. I might do, let's see, remove you a little bit there. Maybe add a little bit more leaf there, and that guy would be a leaf. So I might have a little bit of leafy action going on there. And then here, I definitely wanted a leaf there. I also wanted a leaf here. Maybe not too big though. So I'll remove the leafiness, just a smidge. Maybe add a little bit more there and there. That way when we zoom out, it doesn't feel like a lot of leaf action is going on. Like that. Yeah, I like it a lot. Okay, after that, then, let's see. We have to separate some of the tree into certain areas. For example, here, I see a bunch going on in this area. Then I kind of see to divide it, and there's a little bit of bunch going on there. And there's a little bit of a bunch here. That's the separation I see. So in this example, what we do is, let's see. There's also an outline for the leaves too, so it's a little tricky, but it will be okay. What we'll do for this area then is I'm going to make sure I save it as well. I'm going to grab all of that color here, and then I'm going to remove it, paste it in again. I'm going to grab the color we don't need from this area here. So for example, this guy right here, this is part of the other area, so I'm going to paste you here. And I'm also going to lower the opacity so that we can tell what is where. For example, all of this here. This seems about right. So, oh, hold on. This guy here should be removed, and you should be pasted here. That part is not part of that. That part, yes. And now that we have this here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure you're 100% opacity. We're going to grab this color, move you to this here, and then we're going to grab our darker color, save it, go Shift-O, make sure that the inside is highlighted. So instead, we're going to do inside, and then we're going to make sure all of the edges here, if I can do it properly, like that there. So now all of our edges are highlighted on the outside to make it a little bit easier on us for the outlines. So I'll click on OK, and then I'll go ahead and I'll merge the sky back down. There we go. So now we have our outline without having to add our outline. And now we need to kind of go in and figure out our edging. So what I'll do is I'll start off by doing that idea of sectioning it into portions. So for example, here I see a big portion sectioned out. Hold on. I see a big portion kind of here-ish. So I'll maybe do this guy here, and we'll do this guy here. We're just going for the general areas first is what I'm trying to carve out. So there's kind of a bit here that goes on. So we'll do this bit here, something there. Seems to be an area, and then we have another area here, and we have another area here, and then maybe another area here, and then that area kind of gets sectioned off, so we'll also do that there. And then we kind of have an area here and here, and then we also have an area down here. These are the areas I'm saying, so this is what we'll be always sticking with, the portions of the throw, it seems like. So let's go ahead and start off up here, because I think that would be maybe the easiest place to start off at. And what we can see is that at the very bottom, it's in darkness. So I can just add that in, and we just imply a little bit here and there that the shading still exists for the leaves. For example, here, I might add in a leaf at the bottom here. We can kind of see the example as well. So maybe I could add in a leaf down here. Maybe we can even add in a little bit of a bigger leaf down here. The only issue is just I can't have them both side by side so quickly, which is a shame, but that's okay. Let's see, you go here, and then you can kind of come out here. I don't want to do too big of a leaf either. I just want to go for the feeling of, hey, look, this is a quite a cute leaf. Can't you see? He might look a little bit rough around the edges, but he's a good guy once you get to know him, and once you get past all the harump. So we'll move this guy here, move that guy up there. Maybe that can be a leaf. We can also have another leaf going on here, so maybe we can have the leaf kind of coming outwards. And from my, Stardew Valley training, I know that I can have a little bit of separation between the leaves, and that can give us also a definition between them. So something to this extent here, where it kind of looks like it's folding inwards, but that's not what we're seeing for this version. So I'm not going to do it. I'm going to keep it as we see it, where there's no separation between them. But I do like the heart idea that we've been seeing, at least for Stardew Valley, where it looks like this. But for this game, it doesn't do that. It just keeps it simple with the blobs. So that's what I'm doing. I'm doing this one here. Stardew Valley was more of this guy here. So we'll go ahead, we'll add a few shapes here and there. For example, here, I might add in a little bit of a guy here, and little guy, small little guy here. Maybe then we can go ahead and add in another guy, possibly here. We don't want to do too many. We're not trying to overcrowd it. We're trying to accept it for what it is, and not doing too many is the hope. So maybe we can do that there. Then maybe we can have another one going up here. So not too many, just a few. And then maybe we can have you coming down and wrapping around a bit there, something like that there. And we can do possibly one more, just one more, possibly there, like that. And then for our edge here, we can also have another guy kind of coming outwards a bit, maybe there-ish. Maybe we can move you out, smooth you out a little bit. Maybe we can have you also coming out here. I do like that idea, so maybe we can have you come around and down. I can also then add the added bonus of the area effect. So the little bit here that we already saw before. Move that there to make it a little bit less pointy on that part of it. And then, let's see. Maybe we can add another spot. Let's see about here-ish. I quite like that idea. So maybe we can add one more bit there and lower that down a bit there and there. Yeah, I quite like that there. So we can maybe add a bit more. Let's see. You there, you there. Maybe we can make you go out a bit more so that you don't feel too obligated to conform to us quite yet. something to that bit there. We can also add, I think, another spot here. Not too many. We're looking for just a little bit here and there to show off the leaf pattern. And we can do another one here. I quite like that one. Maybe we can round it off a bit there. And maybe we can add another one in here. Something like that. And then maybe move you in there. I quite like that. I think that's okay. And then for these guys, you would kind of seem to carve out the leaf shape itself. So for example, here could be a leaf. You could interpret that as a bit of a leafy bit there. Maybe you could even curve this in a bit. We don't want it to seem too much like the leaves we already see up here. So I'll do my best to keep the leaves feeling like leaves. For example, here, this could be a leaf there. That works out well. This could be a leaf up here. So I'm going to move that up there. Maybe it can kind of go up here, and maybe that can go up there a bit there. This guy then can maybe come out a little bit more. Maybe even out a little bit more there. And then this guy can come up a bit more there, and there. Something like that-ish. And then we can kind of do maybe another leaf here. Maybe we can do more of a uptick with a leaf here. So it's an upturned leaf there, up there, like that. And then maybe we can have another leaf kind of coming down here. And just like that. Maybe then this guy can kind of swirl in. Maybe this guy can kind of come outwards a bit. This guy can kind of come inwards a bit. Something there. Let's see there. Maybe a little less. We're not going for too much. Just here and there to show us that the leaf does exist. So maybe we can go for something more so here. Maybe we can even add a little bit of edge along here to show off that there's two of them going on. But maybe we do it there and there and there. I quite like that. And then maybe we can add in a leaf possibly here. And then we'll do, let's see. Another leaf there I think can work out fine. Then maybe we can have a leaf that goes out straight. Maybe not too wide. We want to do 3 wide possibly to add a little bit more definition there. Maybe then we can add in another bit of a curve here for a leaf. And then maybe we can also do a leaf, let's see. Another curve outwards, so maybe that guy goes there. Maybe then this leaf can kind of go outwards a little bit. And then inwards here. Something there. Like that and that there. And then maybe this guy can kind of come outwards. So we're keeping it. We're trying to add, we're playing with the two-tone color idea I was talking about earlier, where just 2 colors alone can show off the idea of what you're going for, which I always adore. So something like that there, where we can see our other leaf. And then we can do another bit up here a little bit where we can see some of the leaves. So for example here, maybe we can add in a leaf that kind of goes up here. We can remove that there. Maybe there's a little bit of leafy action here, a bit more of a trace there. Maybe this guy here can also have a little bit of a guy curve. Maybe this guy can come out a little bit. Maybe you're in a bit of darkness as you're kind of going up a bit up there. And then maybe this guy here can come up a smidge, and maybe you can come up a smidge too and go up there. But you can see at the very top at least, not a lot of them have the bit around the edges. So I'll remove that. I'll keep them separated for the time being. Maybe now we can do a bit here that kind of goes around. Maybe this guy kind of points in and comes inwards that we can kind of see of the top as well. So maybe that guy points in inwards a smidge there. Maybe we can now have another guy moving in downwards. Maybe we can do this here. And maybe it doesn't have to be so angry, so straight. So something there and there can work possibly. I'm zooming out again. I'm trying my best to keep in mind the feel of the bit different areas. I think down here could use a bit of work. So let's see. Move you down here, and for this bit here, possibly we can have you go up a little bit there, maybe a little bit down there. You can definitely come down a little bit here. Or nope, hold on. I quite liked the way you were, so we'll keep you there. Possibly we can do that there, add a little bit of a point there. That looks a little bit too silly now that I'm looking at it, so we'll keep the down guy. I think the down guy is okay. Maybe we can add in, nope, I think this area here is fine. It's just this area we have to worry about. So for example here, we could add in another boundary coming in that crosses it. So something like that there could work to say, hey, look, this part of the tree here overlaps. And then this guy here, maybe we have them kind of come backwards a little bit to show it doesn't have to all go inward. Maybe you can come down a little bit there. And then maybe we can have another guy come out and bounce down a bit. So we'll have this guy smudge out and come outwards because they can mix and match. They don't have to all stay in their own lane. And that's the fun of this, just trying to do our best to blend them all together is the hope of this. So maybe I'll make this a little bit rounder here. I also think it's a little bit too tall, so I might just move this guy up a smidge here and then paste this guy back in here. That area there, and maybe we can add in a bit there. And that can go there, and then maybe we can have another guy come directly out here to show off the double action going on there. Maybe add that guy in there. And I'm thinking we can do one more here. So maybe another guy here. And maybe one more there. And we can kind of move them in there. Maybe you can come there. Like that bit. Though I think you can get a little bit more oomph on this edge here. So maybe we can do that there. And then maybe we can have another guy come upwards here. Something there-ish like that. I think that's okay. Again, not trying to do too perfect, just trying to add something that feels like it could be. So I think we're good. So you can kind of see the bit at the top, the bit at the side. Now we kind of have this area here that also blends in together. And this guy here at the top is also merging down a little bit at the bottom. So again, I'll do my best to move this guy outwards a little bit. Sharing is caring. We're trying to make sure it looks like it's assimilating properly. Maybe we can have another guy kind of coming down here. Maybe you can kind of come over a smidge about there. Maybe a little bit there. Possibly there. Maybe there. The leaves don't have to be too big. That's another thing too. We don't want them to look or feel too large. So maybe we can add in a little bit of a leaf there. Maybe another big leafy guy there to show off the portions. And then maybe we can do this guy here. Nope, we want to keep that guy there, that guy there. That guy, you can stay there. You can stay around it. You're fine. And then for this bit here, let's see. I'll go ahead and remove you there. Save you up here. And now we can add a little bit more. Maybe we can have that little leaf go here. But then also a bit of leafy action going on here. And then we can kind of curve it in a little bit so you can see that other portion. This part doesn't seem as detailed as the other, so I'll try my best to keep it that way. Not too detailed. Maybe we can add in a leaf, for example, there, a little bit there. Maybe even bounce it out a little bit more. Maybe move this over also a little bit more too. Just over there. Yep, like that. And then maybe we can have another guy kind of come upwards a little bit. That guy goes in, that goes in like that there. And maybe you can also kind of come outwards. And maybe this guy goes down a little bit and over a little bit. So maybe you can come over about there and that can go there. And that guy can kind of go around there. And maybe we can also remove you too so it doesn't feel like it's doing too much. And maybe we can also curve you in a smidge there. Like that. Maybe then we can have you come out a little bit here. A little bit up there, that guy, so it's not too much. And then here is where we would add, or remove rather, some of the detailing because up front, there's not as much going on. So I'll remove this here. That way we can add a few more leaves here and there in our front. So I'll go ahead and save our little guy here. And then we'll go ahead and do, let's see, this guy here, making sure that we don't align to the edges. We just want to do a little bit, just enough. So I'll do this one here. I'm thinking we can have another one added here. Maybe even that guy can go there. Maybe do another one here. The next one over doesn't have to have anything added to it, so maybe we can do something there. Maybe then we can have another guy. Actually, go up a little bit more. Go up there. There you go. And we'll also do possibly that curve we saw before too. So I'm thinking something there and something here can round out our areas. And that way we can kind of have maybe this guy come down a little bit for a little bit of a leafy feel. Make sure that we stay within our line. So we'll do this guy here, and you don't realize how much texturing takes until you really get into it, do you? In the sense of this guy here, we're how close are we to being finished? We have like 2 more steps, but it's already been an hour and a half. I do find it relaxing though, the trees, drawing the trees themselves. And we're close to being done. I say as we're not really that close at all, but I believe I'm gonna add a little bit of a small guy up here for just a little bit of motivation, you know? He doesn't always have to be so big. He can be a little bit small. So we'll add that guy in there. And then we'll add in another guy about here, I think. And then we'll call it a day on the front bits here. Maybe we can have you kind of curve in here. I'm gonna move you there. That way I can have that guy kind of curve in. And all of the bottom here really is just a lot of, what is it? A lot of less color. So really we can also just do this and fill that guy in, fill this guy in here, and continue on with our idea of just few leaves here and there that are getting spotted and dotted about. So for example, I can add in a leaf like this here, and maybe also not do super sharp. Keep it around. I can add in another leaf here, so something on the simpler side, not too much, just what's needed for it to feel right. I'll add in another leaf about here, so possibly we can do another leaf here. We also have to remember that our leaf sizes or our leaf shapes don't have to be too similar to one another. I keep doing this sort of lightning-y kind of guy, but you could also do, for example, here, something rounder, something like that, for example. We can also do another one here. So let's see, maybe up here. We'll do something a little bit longer for this portion. Something like that, I think, can work. We can also add, let's see, another leaf here, another leafy boy, just to add to the phrase. And then maybe we can have another one here. Not too much again, just a little bit. And maybe this guy here can have a counterpart that goes along. So something, let's see, there and there, something like that there. And then we can add another guy, I'm thinking here. So something to this bit here, maybe another bit here that just attaches itself to him. And then maybe we can have another guy about here. So nothing, not a lot, just enough to show off detail. That's what we're really going for here. Just enough to imply without doing too much. Though I think, truth be told, I might have a little bit too much going on in the bottom. A lot of the ones at the bottom a lot of the ones that are at the bottom aren't too detailed. So I might remove, for example, maybe this guy up here, maybe also this guy here. No, actually, I will move you here. Yeah, a little bit there. And again, we're just carving in the shapes. So carve in there, let's see, carve in here, about there. Maybe a little bit more of a carve in over here for more of a shape. And I'm trying my best because I think one thing I'm missing out on is the fact that these guys are really big leaves and I keep making them super small leaves, and we don't need super small. We need super big because they are big. These are big boys. We don't have to worry about them too much compared to the other trees we've done before. So I'll do my best to make it feel like it's kind of curving in or curving outwards, depending on what direction we're facing. Maybe this guy can kind of come outwards a little bit. Maybe there can kind of work, and then you can kind of come out there, and then you can come in a little bit, maybe there. Maybe then you can kind of come up a smidge, come down a little bit. Not too much. You can go out here a little bit more, out there a little bit, and then you here, you can kind of wrap around up there. Hold on, wrap around about there-ish. You can kind of come down. Maybe we have another bit here, another bit separated, and this guy can come here. But again, don't want to do too much. I'm doing my best to keep it feeling like the tree, but not so much that it's too unfamiliar. Maybe that's the word I'm looking for. This guy here, maybe we add in another guy here. Kind of reminds me of the wavy bits you would add to hair, which I think is a little cute. I like the idea of it. It feels like a cut going on for the hair. You can add that guy here, add that guy here, maybe another guy also coming up here. Now it maybe feels like it's going inwards between each other. That guy goes here, and then maybe this guy goes here. But I like this. I think it's fine. We can add this guy kind of coming out a little bit, and then maybe we can also make this guy go down a little bit. This guy can also go down then a smidge too. We can add a little bit coming down there, and then we can maybe make you go in up a little bit here, up a little bit, not too much. And this guy can come up a little bit as well. It's not a lot, just a little bit here and there to show, hey, I'm doing tree things, and as long as I feel like a tree, I can be a tree. I can do it. It can do it. As long as you believe in it. I think this is fine though. We have this area done and good to go. This area up here I think is good to go as well. Maybe we can add in a little bit more dark areas up here, just a smidge. Then we can also do it up here a little bit. So for example, here can go up to about there-ish maybe. Not too much, just a little bit to acknowledge the different portions or different areas. This here can go in a little bit of darkness. And then maybe this guy can go out and show, hey, we're not all in darkness, just some of us, all right? So this can be something up, for example, here. Maybe a little bit also up here to show that there's some funny bits going on. You can also notice that a lot of this here isn't dark, so I'll move that in as well. And then maybe we can do this guy, let's see, down a little bit up, move you up a smidge, maybe even up that much. Have you come down a little bit. Maybe you can kind of curl down in. Maybe then you can kind of come downwards. You can go down there. That's fine. You want to go that way? Sure. Why not? We'll have you kind of come downwards a little bit here. And this guy, again, you don't need to have anything really going on. Truth be told, you're probably better off doing something like that, though. I don't quite like it, so we're going to fill you in. And this area over here also seems to be darker, so we'll also fill that in too. Slide you over, zoom you out. We're just going for the overall feel of it. So let's see here. Move you into here, move you into here. And then after that, go back to these shapes where we have some that are just singular lines and dots about. And I do like doing these just because I do think they help it not feel too much like they're the same lines and shapes. It feels a little bit more random when I do the blots like that, because I don't have to worry about it too much. And we might do that guy there. Maybe a little bit more rounding because our leaves have been round for the most part. Maybe add a little bit of roundness there. And then let's see. We'll have another one go about here. Then you will maybe go down here a little bit. Maybe more so like that down there. And then you can kind of go down there and down there. And then maybe you can kind of, let's see, go down there. Maybe go up a little bit there. And you can go down a little bit. Maybe a little bit skinnier on that side though. And let's see, add in a few curves here. This is fine. I think this is okay. We could even add in possibly another leaf here. Not too many leaves. They don't need to be, there doesn't need to be a lot. Just enough to make it feel like it could connect. And then here, again, like what we did with the other side, we have the leaves come in a little bit or come out a little bit, depending on your flavor. For example, this guy can go out a smidge here. Maybe we have you come out like that there. Maybe then we have another leaf come out like that there. And it doesn't have to be difficult. It just has to feel. And that's the thing. It's the feeling, I think, that it's always a little bit difficult to figure out. The leaves are supposed to feel more on the random side or more on the stocky side. So it doesn't, as long as you can get that, what is the word I'm looking for? The shape of it. You're looking for a specific shape, a sort of leafy shape, a shapey shape that shapes sort of thing. So let's see here. Maybe you can have that there and then like that. That would be, I would consider it a leaf. Maybe something this can go downwards a bit there, maybe a little bit downwards, and then you can have another leaf go on down here because the leaves are kind of going along with each other. So maybe you can have that guy go down here, and that guy can maybe go down here. Maybe you can go up a little bit more, then you would have that point, and then maybe you can also go down a little bit here. So maybe you can go down a smidge there, and then this guy could go down with a point like that there. And then lastly, we're going to need to go up here a smidge. So if I zoom in just a bit so we can see, I'm seeing a few bits kind of going over top of each other. So I might do this guy here, maybe in something here. That way this guy can go up and over a little bit more. Maybe even, let's see, this color here. And then have this guy go up to look like the leaves kind of coming up and over. Just a smidge here with the lines. So maybe something that there. That kind of feels a little funny. So I might do, let's see. It looks like a worm. That just looks like, would you love me if I was a worm? And I don't think we need it, you know? I don't think it's needed. We just need it to feel okay. And I think all in all, it feels okay. We have that feeling going on, and that's what I'm really looking forward, or that's what I'm really looking for. If anything, maybe we can add in a bit of darkness in some areas. For example, here I could see a bit of darkness being added as well. Maybe a little bit of darkness also added on here. Just a smidge of darkness here and there could certainly help us out a little bit. But I think all in all, we have a good, it feels similar enough. So what we'll do now is we'll copy this guy and we'll slide it up. Or hold on, did I do it right? Ah, it looked like it already slid itself up, which is magical, I'd say. So let's see here. Now we have two colors going on. We have that light color that we initially had. Now another color has entered the fray. You can kind of see a very bright color. So we have this color that we initially had. So I'll grab this color here, that guy. And now this guy also gets highlights. So we'll zoom in a little bit. That way we can see a little bit more. Slide you over. There seems to be highlights in a few areas. We have some in our very highlighted circle bits here. So I'll go ahead and add them in about there. We also have a few highlights going on here. So I might add in a few highlights there. Though these guys are quite wide. So I might maybe move these guys out a little bit. That way they're a little bit more similar to what's going on here. Maybe a little bit less there, maybe a little bit there, maybe a little bit more there. This guy goes up a little bit more, and that way they feel a little bit less painful, hopefully. And then this guy here, we don't need all of the highlights in all of the areas. We could add a highlight to maybe this area here. So I might just go ahead and add that in there too. Not too much, just doing a little bit, a few highlights here and there. There seems to be a highlight on the bottom of the mouth. So we'll do, oh, hold on, I did this wrong. Highlight goes on the kind of outer edge between the light and darkness, so it really would be more so here. Hold on. Do that there. More or less something like this here. And then it would be something there-ish. And then we'll go back to this guy here. We'll grab that line, and it's the line that separates the two. So actually, let me move you down here a bit, and we'll move you down there, and down there. And if I do that, does that look like this? No, truth be told, I think it looked better when I did the highlights on the other areas, but that's okay. It's all about just trying to see why they do the things they do. For mine, the lip comes upwards, so that's why I'm thinking this would be better. Because this is the bottom of the lip. This is the bottom of the lip that goes upwards. you can kind of see, because his mouth is going up, I'm thinking that harumph at the top works out a little bit better. So we'll keep it. And then after that, we'll do the highlights at the bottom of the eye. So something along the lines of this here, this here, this here. Hold on, that there, that there. And how does that look? I definitely like that a lot. We can also add in some squares possibly here for more of the highlights to show off the roots going on. So something there. And then we kind of have a little bit of separation, possibly a little bit more here. And then maybe we can have a bit of a guy going on here for the feels. Maybe a little bit more so there. So I think maybe we can get away with just a little bit more in some areas. So maybe that there, that there. There also seems to be a big highlight on the nose, so we'll add that in as well. You can kind of see if I zoom in a little bit where exactly the highlights are, so we might add in the highlights there. There also seems to be a bit of a highlight here, so we'll also add that in as well. And I think, all in all, that our tree area, at least the wood part, is good to go. So let's go ahead and add in the leafy bits. Now, the leafy bits, they're quite pretty, aren't they? If I go into... The only issue is that it's not mirrored anymore, so I can't go off of my mirrored action, but just remembering what we did before is that we're adding on to the... Oh, hold on. We're adding on to the... If I can find the right layer that we have. This is our... Hold on. That's this layer here. That's that layer there. Yep, that's our under layer, so it would be this layer. If I grab this tool and do this tool here, that's what we look like currently. So we're only adding that light bit to our mossy green portion. And for this, we can use our handy dandy tool we've been using, which is just grab this. Oh, we haven't used it this time, but we've been using it. We'll take this color, then we'll take this color. So it's this color and this color. We grab them using shift, and then if I click on our shading tool here, you can see if I, oh, hold on, do the colors correctly, that color and then the darker color here. If I use my shading tool, it should allow us to shade in the two different portions if we can find the right colors. It's this color, and then it's this color. Those two colors. So this color and this color. That's what our shading tool is using. No. This one here and that one there. Thank you. Okay. And then if we make sure our guy is big, a big brush, and do this layer, make sure we're on the right layer. Yes, indeed. Now you can see it. Oh boy, I do love that. So we'll do it again where we add in our certain areas. For example, here, a lot of the bushy areas are lighter. So I might add it in for here, maybe another one here. Add that in, maybe a little bit there, a little bit there. Possibly go up here a bit and add it in. And then that guy here, those are a little bit darker, so we'll do that there. Maybe we have another leaf kind of going up here, so I'll add a little bit of another leafy texture coming upwards as it's going upwards. Something like that, possibly. And then we can maybe have another leaf kind of going down there. And then we can also fill this in, so I'll do this here as well. That way it's not too bad. Nope, contiguous, make sure that's checked. So that guy goes in there. We're also adding in more just a leafy shape, so might do that little underneath there, and then maybe we can add in another leafy bit, so make sure my brush is correct. Might add in a leaf bit, let's see, there, maybe down there a little bit, so something there-ish. Not too much though, so I'm going to swap it around. Maybe we can add in a little bit of a darker, not darker, but just the curve in a little bit, and maybe we can add in another curve here, and then another curve here, maybe that this guy comes outwards a little bit, and this guy comes outwards a little bit more. Then this guy down here, there's a few highlights going on, so we could add in highlight for this guy up here, maybe a highlight to remove that guy, maybe another highlight up here for this guy, and then maybe a highlight here, and maybe a highlight, let's see, there, and another highlight here, just about, yep, and then after that, let's see, maybe a highlight going down here, just a little bit, and then we can have more leafy highlight portions here, so something there I think is good to go. Maybe round you out so you're kind of having a little bit of a curvy bit of action going on there. So something to this extent there. Hold on. There. And then you can kind of go down maybe just a little bit. And then maybe go up a little bit there too. Just like that. There you go. There you go. That works out. I'm okay with that. And we have another leafy portion here. And then maybe we can have another leafy portion here. Kind of have it curve inward a little bit. Or maybe even downwards a little bit. Something there. And have it come outwards, down a little bit, and then maybe this guy can come over a little bit. Maybe can be a little bit wider. Maybe have you come over and in, and then this guy can come over and outwards a little bit there. Move you upwards. Have you come inwards, smidge there, and then maybe you can also come down a bit there as well. There you go. And if I zoom out, does that feel kind of sort of like what's going on here? So we'll keep it. Lastly, we just need to add in maybe a few more leafy shapes going on in this side, so might add in, let's see, that guy here and there, and then maybe another guy about here and here, and then maybe we can even add in a little bit here, and that leaf guy can go in there. Up a little bit, curve you inwards, maybe add in a little bit there, that there. Maybe move you in about there, and add in another leafy portion there, and then add a leafy portion in about here, there, like that. Oh, hold on. Oh, undo, like that. There we are. Okay, and then after that, we need to do up here, down here, and we're slowly moving along, slowly, bit by bit. We can add in, let's see, maybe a leafy portion down here, and this leaf seems to be fully that. So we'll go ahead and make sure we're back on our shading guy, and we'll make sure to just fill that in. Maybe then there's another guy here. I think this guy would be on top, so maybe we can add in a top portion here. Maybe this guy's a little bit on top, so he can go up here. Maybe this guy's a little bit more in the front of the face. Maybe we have another guy going up here, so pull on that guy, move that guy into this area here. Oh, hold on, undo that. And then we can do this right color here, yep, and have it kind of come outwards, and maybe we can have another guy going upwards, come downwards a little bit, then come upwards, maybe have it come down a smidge, and then that guy can kind of do its own thing depending on what it's really trying to do. Maybe it can come upwards a bit in there like that. Maybe then it has another kind of patchy bit going on here. I quite like that. Then maybe it can have another bit of patchiness going on here, and then maybe we can have another bit going upwards, so something there, and not too wide, not too wide. You can come in there. Then we can go to here, maybe another bit of a shape there, maybe not too sharp as well. Maybe you can come in a little bit, and then we can have you go up. Also fill this in just with our fill tool here, and then we'll go back to our brush. That can kind of go there, and we're just doing our best, it seems like, to make shapes where shapes don't exist already. And I quite like the idea of that. It's just the thing of how low can you go? Can you go down low? That's what it feels like. Maybe move this guy in here, up here a bit. I also like the idea of maybe curving that inwards. Maybe moving it in this guy a smidge here, there. Maybe that guy can move inwards, and then you all can do that. That I believe in you there. After that, we have a few more leaves, so maybe we can add a leaf here, like that there. Maybe we can add in a leaf about here-ish, and then maybe we can do another leaf up here. Maybe then another leaf down here. Just a few leaves on the sides here and there, I think, will fill out well. Maybe that leaf there, maybe that leaf there. Maybe we can even add in if we do our own layer here. I do like the idea of some of the leaves going on top of each other, so maybe we can also add a leaf in here. Just a little bit of a leaf in there. Something like that. And we can look at our leaves here and check and see, do they feel like they do belong? Kinda, sorta. We'll go back to our shading tool here, and we'll go ahead and fill in the rest. So let's see. Possibly a bit of a guy up here. Move that down a little bit there. Maybe another guy up here. Maybe a little a small guy up there. Then this guy can come in a little bit wards. Out there. Move out down there. And then maybe have a little bit of you coming downwards. Move you up a little bit there. Maybe move that downwards there. Maybe another sort of pointy feel there. Move you over. That guy can also be a bit of a point. You can come over a smidge. Maybe come curved in a little bit. Maybe then you can come outwards, and I'm quite okay with letting you be you out here, so you can stay there. And then this guy here definitely can have a little bit of a curve to him, since the other areas don't have as much. So you can go up there, you can go up there, and then you there, that will be filled in here. Fill you in, do that there, and maybe we can add in a little bit of a curve there. Yeah, something like this here, where you can kind of see the, hold on, like that there, I think. Maybe even have that guy come in and over, downwards there. We have this guy kind of curve in a little bit. Maybe then this guy can kind of curve up a little bit and down. Nope, I think that up curve is fine. So something like this, and then we can add a few more pieces. Let's see. Maybe a bit up here we can focus on. That guy just down there is pretty good to go. Maybe add in another part here. Maybe, yeah, like that. Okay, almost there. We have like one more after this. So we're slowly getting through it, slowly but surely. We just need to do this big part here, and then almost there. So what we'll go ahead and do is have, let's see, the majority of this area up here and highlight. And then we can go ahead and add a few leaves here and there. So possibly add a leaf in here, maybe a leaf in here, like that there. Remove that down in, kind of have you curve inwards a little bit and up there. Maybe then we can have you kind of have a little bit of a patchy bit here. Maybe that leaf can kind of come down a little bit into another leafy hold on, more so like that there. Yeah, like that. And then we have another leafy bit up here. And then maybe we can have another leaf kind of come downwards. We don't want to do too much, just a little bit here and there. It just has to show it can work out well. So we'll do that down there. We'll have this guy then, I think, have its own leaf. So I think it's fine to leave that one as that. Because we don't need to do too much. Just needs to be a little bit here and a little bit there. I'm thinking that guy can possibly go here. We can also possibly do another one down here. Just another curvy leaf down here. A little bit maybe moving to the sides a little bit. We have it as big and strong, so we'll keep it big and strong up here. So something like this here, and then that up there. Yeah, like that. And then we can kind of curve it outwards a smidge there. And then we can have possibly another one kind of curving along here, something like this here. And then this guy here can also get a little bit of a shadow, something to this extent at least. And then have this guy go here, and then this guy go a little bit up here. And maybe we can now have our flowery guys come up and down. You were there, kind of there. Fill you in. Oh, hold on. Fill you in there. There you go. And now hopefully it doesn't feel too forced as we're moving along in these areas. Maybe we can have this guy come out as it was, and then maybe this guy can kind of curve downwards. Something. Oh, hold on. I think you're a little bit too much. Come in there. There you go. Something like that I think is okay. Though it kind of feels a little bit too awkward, which is okay. We'll have this guy kind of coming downwards. Maybe we can have this guy then come over there, like that there. And then maybe we can have this guy come in, maybe another half and half, sort of 50-50 portion here-ish. And then maybe have that go in there and that go in there. And a little bit more here. And then, let's see, have this guy kind of turn in downwards, I think is okay. And then maybe we can have a bit of a leafy bit going on here. This little leafy action going on too. And maybe we can also just separate that guy off because you're also not quite needed for what we need to get done. And maybe even you can get separated off too. So you can get removed, and also maybe you too can get removed. You guys aren't quite needed for our idea, but you do help a little bit. So I'll give you credit where credit is due. Kind of move you down there, and then maybe we can have you move down there, and maybe move down there. So the leaves look like maybe they're hopefully going along with each other just a smidge. That guy looks fine. We'll add in a few leaves here to make sure it doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like, what's the word I'm looking for? Make it feel like there's still stuff happening. It's not all the same color from top to bottom. So I'm moving in here. I'm adding in these few guys every so often, adding them in. And then we also have to worry about this area over here. But that's okay. That's all right. What we'll do is add in our bit here. And also, no, oh, hold on. Don't want to redo the eraser. We're just moving this in so that we can have more. Oh, yeah, I forgot about this. I can press tab and that'll get rid of some space too. Lovely. So let's see. We'll add in this guy up here. Maybe then we can add in another guy coming downwards a little bit there. And maybe this guy can kind of go up a little bit to kind of curve up a little bit there. And then we can kind of have you come in the bit there, maybe there. And then maybe we can also have you kind of come down like that. And now we're just missing the other portion. So again, we can kind of, well, at least do a few pieces like it. Like maybe here, maybe we can do here. Oh, hold on. Maybe do here. And maybe do a bit here as well for portions that are already highlighted. And then we can kind of add in our own flair here and there. Like I think this guy's good to go. Maybe then we can add in another curvy bit that kind of comes downwards. That guy is... The curves are always my favorite to do. Trying to figure out what feels right and what can work. We can even add a little bit of a tiny squiggly guy there that makes it look like possibly maybe he's a part of this. He's just not invited yet. This guy can go here a smidge. And then we have, let's see, you can go up a bit there, maybe down a little bit here. We'll have you go up a little bit as well. And maybe curve inwards, so maybe you can get a curl there. And then maybe we can have you curl, let's see. You go up there, that way you can have it kind of come up. Maybe you get your own area there. Maybe then we're also sectioning this guy off a little bit here. Maybe this guy also gets sectioned off, just a smidge. And then this guy, let's see, actually, we'll bring you back. You're fine there. We'll have you curve upwards like that there. There you go. And then we'll have you, let's see. You'll curve about here and go downwards a little bit. So we'll have you go downwards, something there. There we go. And then after that, we'll have you go, let's see, there-ish. I think we'll be fine. maybe we can have you curl in again. I do like the little C ones where they kind of look like they're wrapping around each other. I think they're quite cute. We'll then have this guy come outwards a little bit again. And again, we could do another C one possibly about there. Then maybe we can add in a little bit of a bushy one here. Maybe a little bit of dab there. And then that there and that there. Maybe then this guy can kind of come up again about there. And you can kind of have a little bit of say in what's going on. Maybe then we can have this guy come down a smidge. And then we can have you come outwards a little bit as well. Just point out a little bit. Have it a little bit rounder. And then maybe also do another guy here. And then let's see. We can have another guy kind of come in downwards. Maybe another one coming in outwards and curving around. This guy down here, I think could be its own guy. So we'll give you your own house, your own shape to look forward to. And then we'll do, let's see. I think this guy down here is okay to also be on his own. So we'll let him. We can add in another guy down here, just about. Something about here. Make sure you're kind of curved inwards a little bit. There you go. About there. And then we can also have you curve in there. And I'm thinking maybe we can have... Well, no. Actually, you don't get any. You're fine. You're okay. I think that's okay. I think this is fine. Alrighty then. So we'll save it. And we'll keep going. So I'll copy this guy here. Paste him. And now we're left with the highlights of the highlights. The best of the best in the business. Which is always super duper fun. Let's see. I'll grab this color. And now we're using this color and this color. So grab that one, make sure we're on the brush here, and we should have it properly done. Let's see if I do this color here. Yes, and yes. Okay, save it. And let's see, I'll slide this guy up here. And now for certain we know, if I am looking at all of this correctly, some of it's here, some of it's not there. For example, let's see, everywhere that's kind of in the center here, there's a few leaves attacking themselves, or attaching themselves more so to say. So for example, I might do a leaf like this here. And lower you down here so you look like a leaf. The leaves, or our leaves haven't had the pointy bits added on quite. They look like ovals. They should look like this here, where they're kind of wide a little bit at the top and the bottom. It's possibly more so like that there could be a leaf, like that. Hold on, like that. That's a leaf. We can maybe have another guy, let's see, down here a smidge. So wrap our leaf about, let's see, there. Maybe we can have another leaf about here and have him come out a little bit like that. Let's see, there, maybe downwards a little bit there. Hold on, there. And I think as well, I want to have our leaf come that way. And I'm not quite liking what it is yet, so it's okay. We'll fill this in, or hold on, this guy. Fill that guy in. Good. And we'll actually undo this a little bit more. So I'm seeing this color here. We'll move you into, that one goes there. Yes. And then this guy here can also maybe have, hold on, a bit of a patchy guy kind of coming out here. So you'll get a leaf. And then I'm thinking maybe another leaf here, just about. And then maybe we can get another leaf going on, let's see, here. So possibly maybe we can get a leaf going on. A bit of a shiny guy here, I think. And then maybe another shiny guy here. So we'll kind of have you curving out and downwards a little bit. And a little bit more of a curve there for a few guys. Maybe then we can add in a curled up leaf up here for one of them. Maybe then this guy down here can also, or at least we can add in another curve down here. So something maybe a little bit more stylized, a little bit rounder when it's curling. Something about there. And actually, hold on. You need to work, you need to be a little bit skinnier. You're a little bit too round. Something, let's see, there-ish? A little bit more. Yeah, you know what? I think that's fine. We can then add in maybe another leaf here. So I'll go ahead and add that guy in too as well. And then let's see, we can add in this guy here, that guy there, that guy there. And maybe we can add in another guy here and fill that guy in. Or hold on, fill that guy, fill this guy in. About there-ish, like that. And then after that, let's see, we have a few leaves here. So we can do, let's see, a leaf here, just keeping to our leafy shapes. Something there, maybe another leaf here. So something around this area here. A little bit of a leafy bit there. Maybe you can even curve inwards a little bit. Like that there and that there. Then we have a few leaves also at the bottom here. So I might fill this one in with leafy bits because some of them here have leafy areas. Maybe that one can down there. No, not down there. You can't have the leafy one down there. So we'll keep it up here. These guys would get leafy bits added on top. And then you here might be a leafy bit. Or no, you're in the background. You don't get to be leafy. You get to be your regular. You don't get a little bit of shine attitude. You're not special. You don't get to be cool. Only the cool ones get to be cool, and you're certainly not a part of that club. So we'll move you there, save you at that, and then we'll have you kind of come up here. Have maybe you over there, and actually I want to make you a little bit wider on the side here. Maybe curve it in there and there and there. Or actually, hold on, do that there. Have you curve in that way. There you go. And then we'll have you, let's see, kind of come outwards this guy here. Maybe a little bit downwards, maybe a little bit outwards. Like that there. And then I also think another guy can go outwards here. So we'll also add you in too. Just a little bit here. Doesn't need to be too much. Just a little bit to show off what we're looking for. Something there, something here, I think is fine. And then maybe we can add in a little bit of small leaf here. Doesn't have to be too big. We don't want it to seem uniform like with the palm trees we had. So maybe we can add in another guy about here. Something like that there. And then this guy here. And then this guy can maybe go there. And then maybe we can also have another guy kind of coming outwards like down there. And then maybe another guy can come out downwards here. Oh, actually, no. Let's keep that. I will keep it. That's fine. That's okay. And then we have a few of these guys up here. So this guy can certainly have its own highlight. I think up here can have another highlight. Maybe up here, another highlight up there. Just keeping the shapes as random as I can, but still feeling like they could be leafy shapes. That's what I'm really going for here. For example, I think this could be a leafy shape if maybe we added a little bit more strength to it like that. I think that's good. This guy here would be, let's see, remove that line there, add that there, and I think more so, that would be a leafy shape. We could possibly also add in another guy up here, so let's see, and possibly a leafy bit there and there. Maybe then another one about here, up here. Doesn't have to be too much, just a little bit, just enough to get the idea across. Something there, I think can work. And then maybe we can have another leafy bit up here, and maybe then we can have some down here. So maybe you can have one that goes out here. That's a little bit of a sad guy. Maybe this guy down here. Well, you can get a little bit of another straight one here, possibly like that there. Maybe then we can get one that kind of comes outwards like this one here, kind of mirroring it, but not quite. So maybe we can do something like this here. And maybe, hold on, you can go down a little bit there, kind of curve in a little bit, about so much there. And then you can have this one maybe come in a little bit into itself, possibly there. And then you can have one that kind of comes downwards. So maybe come downwards like that there. Hold on, like that. Hold on. Yeah, like that. And you can also have a little tiny guy here to show it still exists. And then we have another guy here. So maybe we can do, again, just trying to keep it small, but not quite. So maybe we can have one go up, let's see, up here, about there-ish. Hold on, holding you off and up. About up here. Maybe then a little bit of a small guy up here. And we move that there so there's not a corner. And maybe move you down here. We want to fill this up just enough to make it feel like there are actually leaves going on here. The good news is that we just had to cover the majority of it. And then hopefully by doing that, it'll show its face and looking like the proper leaf was always meant to be. As long as it believes in itself is the hope we're going for here. We can add in maybe another leaf up here. So let's see. Maybe a tiny little guy to highlight this portion there. And then this guy here, we can have maybe another guy kind of coming outwards. So we'll do this here. Maybe we can have a leaf that comes out downwards there. We can then do another one here. So just about there. Maybe you can have a little bit more roundness to your area. And this bit here, hold on. There you go. There you go. Not too bad. And then we have another leaf possibly here. Like that. Skinny leaf. And then maybe have another leaf here. Not too much. Maybe have another leaf kind of coming up here. And it seems to be the case as well. They're not all, well, when they get to the center here, they also don't seem to have too much. They look like leaves that would fall. So they seem symmetrical. For example, this here might be symmetrical. And then maybe we can add one here. Maybe here. That just looks like an oval. Something like that there. Then maybe we can have another one kind of curving in downwards here. And then maybe another one that kind of comes downwards. So there's still a little bit of method to the madness. Just a smidge. Maybe we can have a little bit of a small guy here. And then, let's see. Oh, we also don't want to do too small. That's also something I've noticed. We don't need it to be too small. We'll add in a guy back here, because the back ones also do exist. And then I'm thinking we'll keep that there. And lastly, it's going to be this area here. We can certainly add, for example, here, possibly a shiny leaf that goes in the back. And then maybe we can have a bit of a leaf up here. So something like that. Move that downwards, wrap around a little bit, have it come down and in a smidge. About there. Hold on. Make you a little bit rounder. Something like that. Yeah. Something to this bit here. There you go. Like that. I think that's okay, though it feels a little bit too round, so we'll make you a little smaller, just a smidge, just a little bit tinier, teeny tiny. There you go. And then we'll add in some leaves. Again, we're trying to keep to the curve, the feel of the leaf. So I'll do a bit one, not a big one, a bit here and a bit here. So something like that. Then maybe these guys can curve around as well. They're trying to not escape, but they have somewhere they want to be. This guy can go upwards, or rather kind of curve outwards a little bit here. Have a little bit more of a curve going on. Remove you there, and then remove you, or maybe add you in here. And then let's see. Move that up here, move that out here, and go down a little bit here. Oh, down there-ish. And then we can have you, one more down here, kind of coming in. And then we have some guys that are just kind of coming out, it seems like, on the other side. So I'll do that too, where some of them are just outwards, and they're just here to be here, it seems like. So I'll put one here, I'll possibly put one about here-ish, and then we can have another guy kind of coming outwards, and then this guy down here, we'll have this guy popping up, so I'll let him pop up because he wants to pop up. So that guy can come up a little bit, have you the way you should be, which is not too prominent, just there. There you go. And then you can have another one kind of coming outwards here. So we can have him come down a little bit, down and around town. Maybe this guy can then also go down a bit here. And then have this guy come outwards a bit here. And then let's see. Possibly that there, that there. And then we have this guy kind of coming upwards. So you can come up here and we'll have a leaf kind of coming upwards and around. And maybe have you a bit rounder. This one can also get some bits here that kind of go outwards, and maybe we can have that. And then have one more leaf kind of off in the distance. Off in the distance a little bit here. Yeah. Hold on. I think something like that would work out a little bit better. There you go. Like that. Okay. I think that's it then. We did our top areas, our bottom areas. Yeah. It's not quite the one-to-one I was looking for, but I do quite like a little old man tree. I get the idea, and I always like learning the new methods because I think there's the hope of, and oh, did we add the highlights? Are you different highlights? Are there more highlights going on? Hold on. Go out of shading. There's one more highlight. Hold on. Let's see. Go back to you here. There's a little bit, there's just a smidge more highlights. There's a highlight about the face. The face gets a little bit more highlights. So let's see here. You get a little bit more, just a smidge more. You get a bit of a highlight, let's see, around the nose area here. So I'll add that into there. Oh, no, hold on. I'll do that there. And then we'll have, let's see, also for our eyebrows. So let's see here. Possibly we can do a line about here, maybe also about here and here. And it kind of goes up here. Hold on, up here, about there. And then we have you kind of coming down here. There we go. Something like that. There you are. Our angry man from the other man. I like him a lot. He's angry. You can almost see it as like the happy grandfather and the angry grandmother. I could also see it being the case too. But all in all, I think we did good. It feels enough like it. Maybe not one-to-one, maybe not accurate, but I feel like I did understand the methods, and in the future I'll be able to apply them as well. So thanks for coming, thanks for joining. I hope you have a lovely time, and hope you get up to is a lot of fun. I hope you have a lovely morning, afternoon, evening, or night. Feel free to leave me suggestions on which foliage to study from what game, or just general topics from different games you want to see as well, and I hope to see you all soon. Bye-bye!